Hello, and a warm welcome to everyone to the INNOVA Europe Summit 2026. We have a very live audience here in Aalto University, but also one in the stream. So this event will be live streamed and documented through photography and video for communication and reporting purposes. If you prefer not to appear in the photo or video recordings, please inform the organizers, or there, at the event, so that this can be taken into account.
Hey everyone, my name is Katie Santo. I think I've met many of you over the last few days. I'm originally from the US, now in Finland, studying my master's in international design business management here at Aalto University.
And I'm Karla Still. I also study here in a master's program in Aalto, but in sustainable entrepreneurship. And I'm also very enthusiastic about effective altruism.
So we have a really exciting agenda for today. But before we get started, we're going to hear a few short words from the provost of Aalto University, Kristiina Mäkilä. Everyone, please give her a warm welcome. Thank you.
Dear everyone, hope this part will be exciting too. Because Aalto University is a very exciting place. So what I want to spend a couple of minutes here about is really sharing where are you at the moment. Because we think, and we might be a touch biased here at Aalto, but we think that we are quite a unique place. What makes us unique is our very short history. So we were founded only in 2010, so we are a 16-year-old teenager. A combination, the foundation of Aalto is the combination, and not just combination, but integration of three fields: art and design, business, and technology. And the idea, the founding idea behind Aalto was that it is the collaboration or the combination of insights from these three areas that really is needed to address the big challenges of the world today. And that's why our purpose is shaping a sustainable future, which is, I think, very fitting for the INNOVA conference or meeting here today. We'd like to believe that we are unique in two ways, in particular. And one is this combination of the three fields, but not just that we are in the same university. There are many universities in the world where you have these three fields, but we really work together in a very integrated way, both in education and in research. And when that is combined with the world-class innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem that we have here in Aalto and around us here, right bang smack on campus, I think this combination makes us a really inspiring place and pretty unique on a worldwide scale. We are the #1 university in Finland in the QS ranking. We educate a large part of the future talent in this country, 40% of the engineers, 20% of the business scholars, and 70 to 75% of our designers. There are 70 to 100 companies founded here in our ecosystem every year. That's a very large number. That consists of different types of companies. So you have the deep tech companies, the IQM, the quantum computers, the ISI, the space technology companies that are coming from, are based on our research. And that's, of course, what many universities do, and is really important. But uniquely to Aalto, that is combined with a very thriving student entrepreneurship ecosystem, where our students are really active in this, in building an entrepreneurial mindset and founding companies. Annual meeting called Slush may be familiar to you. It's one of the world's largest startup and investor meeting in the world, and it was entirely built by our students. And there are many other initiatives as well. And if we combine the deep tech expertise and the creativity, the creative fields and the business fields, combined with our active students and the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, we believe that you get something special. And just as an example of that, highlight the number 2 there at the bottom. 2 new industries in Finland. Finland happens to be today world leading, I would say, in quantum technology. We were recently ranked number 2 in the world as a quantum ecosystem after Cambridge. Well, the whole industry didn't exist in 2010. The same thing with space technology, where we have several unicorn also, but also several promising startups. It's one of the most thriving industries with 200 players, and the European Space Agency Business Incubator Program here in this campus. So here are some examples of why entrepreneurship and innovation are really important to us, and how do we do this? By collaboration. And that brings us back to INNOVA, which is all about collaboration for shaping a more sustainable future through entrepreneurship and innovation. So I think it's a match made in quite heaven, I would say. Wonderful. So welcome, warm welcome to Aalto, and hope you continue to enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristiina. Thanks a lot. Here's a gift from us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And here are some of our wonderful students.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. So next we will have a panel discussion with experts from the Finnish entrepreneurial ecosystem, very diverse and with different backgrounds, which support the startups here.
So to introduce our first individual on the panel discussion, we have Nora Saksa. She is the CEO of Slush, which is one of the most founder-focused events and organizations in the world. And here is Nora here. Welcome. Yes, hello. Yes. Slush is a not-for-profit organization, and it's led by students and recent graduates. So its sole purpose is to connect founders, investors, and startup operators from all across the world.
Then we have Sarita Runeberg, who is the CEO of Maria 01, which is one of Europe's largest startup ecosystems. Sarita has over a decade of experience in international business and company scaling. She's a passionate advocate for diversity and works to ensure that founders from underrepresented backgrounds get the resources they need to succeed. Then we have Kia Kanninen, who is the founding team member and operational lead at the Founder House Helsinki.
Welcome.
Welcome. The Founder House is a new hub for Finland's 0.1% most ambitious early startup founders. And before Founders House, she worked for Slush.
And please welcome to the stage Riikka Loisamo. As former CEO of The Shortcut, she worked to unlock the potential of international talent here in Finland. She's lived and worked across Asia and Africa for more than 12 years. And so Riikka brings a very global perspective to Finland's future competitiveness. Please welcome Riikka. We're slowly moving this way.
Matti Paavonen, who is coming from Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund. As the chief economist of Sitra, Matti is responsible for ensuring that all essential information on factors that affect Finland's economic development are taken into account in Sitra's activities.
And before we fall off the stage going any further this way, please welcome the moderator, Lauri Torvinen, who is going to be moderating today's discussion. He's also part of the Aalto Founder School cohort, so everyone, please give a warm welcome to our moderator and to our panelists.
So, before we start, I want to quickly tell you what is going to happen in the next hour. First, we're going to have a rapid-fire question section. After that, we're going to talk about the Finnish startup ecosystem. We're going to cover opportunities for students, the strengths, challenges, and the future of this ecosystem. And we're going to end this with audience questions, so be ready for that. Okay, could you pass these, please? So the rapid fire questions, they're fast answers, quick questions, and I will ask them to explain the reasoning, the answer. So, are you ready? Do you have mics? Have you been given them? Perfect. Okay, first question. It's an easy one. Should every student try entrepreneurship once? Nora, do you want to explain why should they try that?
Let's see if it's on. Yes, it's on. I think there's nothing more exciting than solving a hard problem with smart people. And I feel startup ecosystem is the highest density of that wherever you look, because that's the place where the most ambitious, craziest people who have a conviction that you can build a better tomorrow are. So that's why I think you should at least try.
Perfect. So, second question. Is university degree becoming less important? Be honest, you can be honest. Ooh, okay. Well, we have one person who is not agreeing with the rest. Nora, do you want to explain?
I'll be quick. I think like university degree is actually, like it's important. I'm an engineer, I study at Aalto. There are some things that you actually need to study for, but I think you can create a change without the degree as well. Because like you can learn in many, many, many different ways. And I know a lot of great founders, a lot of great builders who actually haven't been to university.
Matti, do you want to respond to this?
Well, in the big picture, a university degree is an indicator of your, well, skills and how much labor you're ready to put into it. So I think that's a good indicator in the future as well. Although I do agree on, like, it's not the only way to fly.
Thank you. Okay, next. Would you hire based on potential or experience?
Which is which?
Yes, so yes, the green is yes and the red is no, but there's no, the red is not wrong. Sorry?
Green is potential and red is...
Yes, green is potential and red is experience.
Green is potential, yes.
Yes, do you want to explain?
Of course. I mean, like I've been hiring quite a bit lately, and diversity. We lack diversity a lot, and I think that like quite often we're going to discuss about this, like obstacles of getting hired when you're a foreigner in Finland, for example, and quite often, for example, Finnish employers tend to put so much effort and emphasis on the experience that you have actually gained in Finland. I personally feel that is quite a lot limiting the capabilities of those companies and those teams who can then actually create together.
Sarita.
Yeah, I wanted to comment as well on this. I'm a political scientist by trade. I was supposed to become a diplomat, and I was hired for a startup because of my potential, with zero background in working in private sector at all. So therefore, hiring people based on potential for me has always been very relevant and very important, because I've always been thinking that I was given the chance and I was able to build my career in startups exactly because of that. So I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of potential. They have not maybe experienced a lot of like professional career at all or in that field where they're being hired to, but still the potential and the attitude that I think in this field of startups really drives the change.
Let's go to the next one. You'll get your opportunity, Matti. I wanted to sneak a few AI questions here because we all know it's a big thing. Is AI overhyped? Interesting. So we have almost a 50-50 split. Kia, do you want to explain?
Yes. I see our founders at Founders House and everywhere building with AI every day. And I don't think AI is overhyped because it gives us the possibilities to build. Anyone can build anything today. And I don't think that's overhyped. It's just kind of the next step in the progress.
Matt, you were eager to respond to this one.
That's a very difficult question, and nobody knows right now. But in terms of like revenue and ROI, I don't know if the investments that we're putting it are going to produce as much revenue as they should in order to be successful. Then again, it is going to have a huge impact. So, see you so.
Okay, we'll find out sooner or later. Will AI create more opportunities than problems?
Which is which?
Green. Opportunity green, problem red. So everybody's green. Okay, Sarita.
No, I think definitely more opportunities. Maybe going back to the hyping part as well, that I think every single new technology, when it comes out, there's a massive hype at first, and then it's more like kind of taken into use widely. So I think in the case of AI, we really see already a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, becoming founders as well, being able to build businesses a lot quicker, not having to, for example, give away the ownership of their companies that quickly and so forth. So I think it's going to help a lot of founders, but then also, of course, solve a lot of challenges that were not solvable before. So we see that with our founders, for example, that there's a lot of these solutions that are able to be built right now that did not kind of exist before, exactly because we didn't have the kind of technologies that we now have with AI. And this kind of applies, of course, to everything in life, in like healthcare and how illnesses are treated and so forth. So I think it's going to be a massive shift in that sense.
Next one. Is Europe too risk averse when it comes to startups and innovation? Okay. Riikka.
Yeah, so I have a secret. So I also have a law degree. So in that sense, like I guess I should have an opinion on this. I guess there's like quite a lot of discussion currently about like overregulation and like too much regulation in Europe in general. And I'm also wondering that is that also like I also agree that yes, a lot of that regulation might be unnecessary, or it became too strict because of for obvious reasons, right? But did it like all of this hype like I guess that with this kind of a discussion there is the tendency that it goes from one extreme to another extreme. And I think that especially when it comes to regulation, I mean, it's such a big topic and it has such a big impact in everybody's lives in general. And I think that many people just fail to understand what is the real life impact if we then start to deregulate things, right? So I think that it just goes like it goes in waves, right? It always does.
Yeah, and you need to remember that there's a reason for regulation. I mean, it's not there for no reason. I'm thinking more about risk money and risk investments. There just isn't that much risk investors in Europe.
Okay, the final question for the rapid fire section. Can Europe produce the next €1 trillion company? Noora, what has changed that it can?
The last 20 years were the era of software. That's where US dominated. Now that we have AI, we can solve more complex problems than before. So the next 20 years are going to be about deep tech. Europe already produces twice the amount of engineering and science graduates than the US. So if we just engineer our society correctly, we can win the era of deep tech. And there's many trillion euro companies right there in energy, in space exploration, in robotics, list goes on. So yes, we can.
Okay, that is it for the rapid fire questions. And now we're going to go to the main theme. So it's a Finnish startup ecosystem. We're going to start with the opportunities for students. So this one is for Kia and Noora. What kind of opportunities does Finland offer to students who want to get into the startup ecosystem they cannot find elsewhere?
I can maybe start. Well, just the fact that there is slush here is a huge opportunity. I think the most important thing as a young student, if you are wanting to get into the ecosystem or do startups or do actually anything in your life that leaves an impact, is that you need to be someone who is comfortable with doing hard things. You take initiative, and there's nothing better than being in some of these
student-run initiatives like Slush, where you actually get too much responsibility too early, and then you just have to figure it out. Like that's how I ended up being the CEO of Slush. Like I just started someone like 22 years old engineering student, didn't know anything about venture capital, had heard about startups, but didn't know much, but I started as a volunteer. But then you get trusted, you do things, you try out, you fail, and then you get up again. So as a student, the most important thing is to just get started, whatever that might mean in your university or community. So that's the big thing. And where I think Finland has an advantage is that we have this habit of trusting each other. We are a very trust-based society. So for us, it's not odd to trust young people, to give them a bit of money, a bit of time, a room in a university somewhere in the corner, and just see what comes out. And things like Slush, Founders House, all of these ecosystem things have come out of it. So that's the beauty of Finland. There's just a million opportunities, no matter what you want to do.
Yeah, I agree with what Noora said. I think there has been a clear shift in the attitude towards also the whole startup ecosystem in Finland right now. And I think there's still a lot we need to do to kind of shift the whole attitude towards startups. But for example, I worked at Slush before, and then we saw that there was this need for a place for the most ambitious founders to build side by side every day, because you can't build alone like the next billion-dollar company. And we just went and founded it. We just went and did it, and the response has been like very positive. So I think it's the same also if you go and found a startup right now. The attitude is very positive, and I think it's a very good place and a good audience kind of to be surrounded by when you do something new. And you can be involved in so many different kinds of societies and ecosystem entities as a young person. Also, you don't need to be young. As you can be 50 years old and still get into the ecosystem, you know. But especially like for young people, it's super important that we kind of expose them to the ecosystem in the early stages, and you can do that by volunteering at an event or in a community. There's like hackathons, there's Slush events, there's hacker houses, and it's the best way to learn. And I think in Finland we're actually we're growing founders in these ecosystems, and that's very unique in Finland.
Sarita.
Yeah, just wanted to add, totally agree with both Noora and Kia here. But I think also one other good way that wasn't mentioned yet is to simply work at the startups as well. Like in the beginning, kind of finding a job in one of the startups that already exists. I think that is a really, really great way to learn as well how kind of fast the companies are moving. That's, for example, how I ended up working in the ecosystem. So I got hired to a very early stage team. We grew that into several hundreds of people, and eventually the alumni of that company now have founded over 100 companies worldwide. So then these are kind of the first founder factories. Now our ecosystem has become a lot more mature in the last decade. So there's a lot of opportunities for students around as well that are kind of providing the access to the whole ecosystem and give like the access to different kinds of industries as well. Because if you're specifically interested or specialized in some certain field, there's for sure startups in that field that could use your expertise as well, and that could provide a really, really interesting pathway into seeing what high growth looks like and how can you contribute in that.
Matti, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, Noora mentioned trust, and I think that's very important because Finland ranks like at the very top on how much we trust other people, like social trust. And that gives you opportunities, that gives you responsibility, and that makes growth possible. It's a thing that is very difficult to build in a society. And we've managed to do that, and yeah, we get to enjoy that.
Perfect. So there are strengths in the Finnish ecosystem. As Sarita, you are the CEO of Maria 01, one of the biggest startup campuses in Europe. You have 330 startups and 2,000 members. What do you believe is the Helsinki's unfair advantage compared to Stockholm and San Francisco?
Well, I would say that it's definitely the size of the ecosystem and the mentality that the people have. So our ecosystem is kind of big enough to be relevant, but small enough to be really tight knit. And it's once you're in the ecosystem, once you know the people, once you work in the ecosystem, so it's really kind of the amount of support that you will get from the different people, different founders is just insanely huge. So I've always said to people that like, I've always felt in Finland that the startup ecosystem has been very special in the sense that you will have everyone reaching out to you, offering their help with anything that you might need. When I started in this role as well, the most common kind of message that I got in the congratulations for the CEO position was that if you ever need anything, let me know, that I know these people and so forth. And I think this give back culture is something that I at least have not seen in many other places. So we, for example, at Maria01, we run accelerator programs, and in those we have some of the most well-known founders, kind of CEOs of really big Finnish startup scale-ups, really busy people, and they are all really happy to give their time to the young founders or the kind of the founders who are in the beginning of their journey, exactly for that reason that it makes sense to help each other, because that's how kind of we all rise if one of us rises, and I think that's a definite advantage that I at least have not seen elsewhere. And the fact, of course, that the ecosystem is so well connected here because of its size as well. I think it allows us to do really like big things in the sense that it's really easy to get help from people and kind of reach out to other people.
I'll add one number thing. I'm a very number and data-driven person, so one thing that US investors that I always talk to a lot to try and work are very impressed by is that we're actually punching above our weight in terms of the results of the ecosystem. We built 3 decacorns, so 10 billion euro companies. That's like the ultimate goal of a founder. Unicorn is the first level, so 1 billion euro. We built 15 unicorns as well, and 20 companies with 100 million annual revenue. So that's very, very impressive. Like when I go to US, San Francisco, or New York, they're like, wow, like how did Finland build like 3 decacorns and 15 unicorns? That's just like insanely impressive for some country with 5 million people in the Nordics.
Perfect, thank you. So Kia, you work with founders at the earliest stage in Founder House. You offer workspace, mentoring, and investor access without taking equity. From what you see at Founders House, what does Finland get right when supporting those early stages of founding a startup or a business?
I think we kind of already touched upon this, like both Sarita and Noora has also said some of this already, but the fact that our ecosystem is so strong in Finland and that we have these founder factories is something Finland does very right. If you compare to, for example, Stockholm, Silicon Valley of Europe, they don't have this same kind of ecosystem as we have here, the same kind of student-led entities. Like I can't count the entities on my 2 hands even. Like there's so many different opportunities. And for example, Slush is known as a founder factory. So that's like, we don't leave it like to fate that there will be a founder that will build the next unicorn. We actually like create them and push them. And another thing, which maybe isn't that talked about, is that we actually have quite a lot of early stage capital here in Finland available. We have a lot of local funds who invest a lot in pre-seed and seed. Obviously, it would be great to have even more international funds here. But we do have a lot of early stage capital. So the chances of getting funded are really good in the early stages here in Finland.
Yes.
And I also think that what actually makes Finland and Helsinki very different, or like Finland in general, is that this is truly, like many of these initiatives, they actually are truly student-led. I think it's quite funny that when I was living in Singapore, and at that point of time, we brought Slush to Singapore, and it was funded and organized to start with by Singapore government, right? And the whole idea was that the Singapore government had found out about Slush in Finland, and they thought it's such a massively amazing initiative that something starts from the ground up, and they wanted to bring similar kind of a movement to Singapore. I mean, you can just understand how is it different, right? When the government says to the students that actually, hey, now the Finns are here, and now you have to start cooperating with them. And I think that is also comes with the fact that actually now also the funding is basically many of the VC funds that you mentioned that are actually doing the very early funding are by your founders themselves, right? Because we already have that success in here. And I've seen that how does it look like when the government actually comes to the picture and start to build that ecosystem from the top down. They have the funds, but they don't have the fun. And basically the end result is really different.
So we touched upon some points on what makes Finland strong, but how can, for example, other ecosystems in Europe replicate what we've done here? Do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think this isn't something that has been like built in a night. Like it's been over 15 years in the building, like from the beginning of aalto-ES / all of those who have been existing for a long time. But I definitely think that we kind of, for example, well, I'm comparing now all the time to Stockholm, but we have a lot to learn from Stockholm, but they have a lot to learn from the ecosystem here in Finland. We see, well, Founders House was first in Stockholm, but anyways, there's SSE Business Lab, there's KTH AI Lab, but they have kind of now just realized from maybe comparing to Slush and the Finnish ecosystem that, okay, we actually need these kind of entities. And I think like the impact of those has also like during the last maybe year become more clear in Stockholm. So yes, you can kind of replicate that, but you can't do it overnight. You need the trust that you mentioned, and you need kind of the previous generation or the role models of people who have been in the ecosystem and then gone and found themselves to kind of get the young people to actually see the point in building these ecosystems.
Thank you. You had, Sarita, something?
Yeah, I actually speak about this topic quite a lot. We have around 50 different international delegations visiting us at Maria every year and asking the same question, that kind of how could we do something like this back home? And on top of what Kia was saying, I would still add that I think it's very much about the community building. And of course, that is the hard part because you can't really build the mentality into people. But I believe very strongly in putting smart people into the same room and actually kind of making them work together, whether it's in a more sort of a formal way or casual way, it doesn't really matter, but the fact is that they need to be doing things together. And we believe a lot in like this sort of cross-pollination as well, that whereas of course you can build like these different industry hubs, for example, for certain industries, but in our ecosystem we see that a gaming entrepreneur can learn a whole lot from a health tech entrepreneur. So therefore it makes sense to put different kinds of people into the same room and then they will create something great together. And obviously it's difficult to facilitate that, especially if it comes from kind of top down, but that kind of would be the way that I would start if I would start building it somewhere else.
Perfect, thank you. So as we know, even though there's a lot of positives and we have strengths here, everything is not perfect. There are some challenges. So, Riikka, Finland faces a growing shortage of skilled labor, yet international talent still struggles to integrate into the job market. What is the biggest obstacle right now for talented immigrants who want to build a life and a career here?
I think it was a good start for the discussion because basically what we have, you know, many of us actually have brought it up today as a benefit of a Finnish society, which is the trust-based society. Basically mean that the hierarchies are really flat. People get to know, they make really good friends already in daycare. They make good friends in the primary school, in the secondary school, and by the time they go to university, they make their last friends. And then they get hold of these friends and they are friends for life, right? Good for them, but the problem is that it's actually really difficult to get to know Finns afterwards. And when you build a society, or when the society, you don't build it, but the Finnish society is so much trust-based. So basically, we tend to believe and trust those people that we've known for the lifetime. And then if we don't know the people for already, we believe and trust on those people who have graduated from the same school that we are the alumni, right? Because we know what's the standard of the school. Likewise, we believe and trust in the people who have been working for big Finnish listed companies. We know that if you be working for Wärtsilä or Nokia, that's the standard of the work, and that's a good limit. The problem is that if you don't have Finnish credentials, or if you have not been working for a Finnish companies, of course. It's a very different kind of a situation, especially if you come to study in a Finnish university, then you gain that trust by studying in a Finnish university. Also, the ecosystem here at the university is amazing. There's so many different kind of societies that we have also brought up, and you network and you build your network while you're studying. But if you're a professional that comes to Finland after those study days are over, and you then try to incorporate and integrate into Finnish society and build that trust from scratch, it can be really hard. And that is what we have also realized, like throughout the work that we've been doing, some 10 over years, the shortcut has been existing. We do, for example, spouse coaching for the spouses of the people, like Supercell employees and VTT employees. And these people are highly educated, and quite often how it happens is the highly educated, smart people, they want to marry their equals, right? So then the spouse is also very highly educated and very experienced. And then we would do work with these kind of people, and we realized that there is VP level, technological, like really capable people, and they have really big problems finding opportunities in Finland. And the only reason for that is that the employers, potential employers, don't know them. They don't have common friends. They don't know, what is this company that is listed on the CV. The most horrible kind of examples that I sometimes hear is that there's even Finns who go abroad and study degrees abroad. There was a person who had, they graduated from Cambridge. It's a pretty okay university, right? The employer didn't know what is Cambridge. So they had to do official translation of the certificates saying that this is actually a legit university. So that tells you a little bit about now we are talking about like an SME company, right? We are not talking about the startups and the technology companies who are a little bit more open-minded. But if we talk about like in a big picture, like what is the problem for foreign, like very highly educated, experienced, amazing international talents, the problems that they are facing, they are mainly related to this fact of lack of networks and lack of trust, hence, that they have built here in Finland yet.
Sari, that you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just wanted to comment really quickly. I'm a person who always focuses on solutions rather than challenges. And there's definitely challenges in terms of the international talent in Finland. Actually, I don't know if you saw, but the European Commission yesterday launched this startup scoreboard for the first time. And there Finland, in terms of attracting higher educated talent to Finland, ranks well below the European average. So it's definitely a thing that we need to solve. But one of the things that we've been doing at Maria 01, and of course it's still very small scale, but it's something that we want to scale as well, is something that's called third-party trust. Which means that because we have this trust-based society, the people that are coming from outside of the kind of this ecosystem or our Finnish society, they need someone to help them to get that trust. And third-party trust is, if you put that on ChatGPT, it'll tell you more about that, but it's a concept where basically I'm, for example, lending my credibility to someone else to give them credibility. So we've been doing this with our foreign founders that say we had this amazing Indian founder, for example, come to our ecosystem last year. He was looking for customers in Finland. If you have an Indian name, you look Indian, you also speak only English, very hard to open business in Finland, I tell you. But then what we started doing with him is that I was sending out some of the messages in Finnish to some of the people that he wanted to reach out, and switching into English halfway and hey, take it over from here. We had 80% response rate for cold emails. And that was amazing in the sense that he was in 3 weeks able to close 27 new customers in Finland. And that I think is something that we should do more at scale. Of course, this is just one example, but kind of making sure that us who are kind of more inside this circle of trust are lending our trust to the people that are coming from elsewhere so that they can also build the trust here.
What about then, have you noticed, for example, Noora, you're in Slush, the CEO's Slush, have you noticed any other challenges that we face here in Finland? Not just about immigrant workers coming here.
Yeah, of course. Like there's of course always a myriad of challenges to work on. I think one of the most pressing ones I've been thinking a lot about is how do we make sure that we keep the ownership of our best companies that we built here. That is, an end result of our ecosystem being less mature before. We haven't had a lot of later stage capital. Of course, when a startup grows, and we do grow these great companies like Aura, many of you might be wearing one ring right now. we just haven't had the capital to back these companies before. So then, of course, they've needed to go elsewhere and fundraise, and therefore the ownership of these companies is going elsewhere. Currently, I think Oura is only 5% Finland owned or Finnish investor owned. So then, of course, the good also doesn't return here. So I think it's a relevant question and relevant challenge to answer, but I think we also should remember that it's a natural part of maturing and evolving ecosystem. And actually, we should be proud that we've now faced a situation where this is the problem we're solving, and not, okay, do we get any startup founded? Okay, we still need to have more startups founded as well, but it's a privilege that we get to now solve this kind of problem. Like, hey, how do we get more Finnish, pension funds or public capital invested back into startups through investments like direct investments or different fund vehicles? So that's one that we need to work on very actively, and that comes from allocating the money we have already in this ecosystem back into the startups, or in this country back into the startups. And I feel like we actually do have enough money in this country. We just need to activate it and direct it to the more riskier investments, which feels scary, right? But these companies have been very good investment opportunities also for foreign investors. So why don't we do it ourselves?
Is this a Finnish problem or a broader European one?
This is a European problem as well. We are actually doing better than European average. Our pension funds allocate more capital to startups than in Europe. In the US, it's approximately 5% of the capital that the government or all pension funds invest in startups. In Europe, the average is far less than 1%. So there's a lot of work to do right there for our whole European ecosystem. Of course, other challenges we have is then obviously policy making. We didn't have that many startups 20 years ago. It's natural that our whole society has been regulated for a world of corporations. Now it's time to change that and move away from this death by 1,000 cuts system where there's these seemingly small things that don't necessarily feel that important, but actually when you're building these global companies, then you start to feel the 1,000 cuts that come to you, and after that, when it happens enough, your investors might want you to move to the US. What else? I already mentioned earlier that we produce 2 times more science and engineering graduates than the US, but the challenge is that our innovation is sitting in labs. So we need to create a better playbook for commercializing this research. And this is actually the game where we can win if we just play our cards right, as I said already in the beginning. But I just wanted to still underline that one. And then maybe a fourth one I still want to highlight, this is again not just a Finnish but also European problem, is that we need to increase the overall culture of winning. And what I mean with that is that we have been subscribing to the thought that Europeans cannot build global companies. That's a story that US investors have been telling us for decades. If I was a US investor, I would also tell that, because that would make them want to raise money from me and not from someone else. But I feel like the current geopolitical situation, no matter how difficult it is, I think there is a silver lining that we are realizing in Europe that we can and should define what our future looks like, and we don't need to look over our shoulder anymore. So that's very interesting and makes me very excited to be a European right now. So how can we define our future, create this culture of winning? And that happens by making sure our corporations buy our startups' products. It starts from celebrating our best founders in Finland, and I would say more broadly in Europe as well. It's both frowned upon to fail and succeed. If you build startups, you will end in either end of the spectrum. There's always few years of figuring out, but then eventually you'll be in either end of the spectrum. So we need to be fine with both succeeding and failing. So many things to change, but I'm very hopeful, and I've never been as excited to be a Finn or European as I'm right now, because I'm a deeply impatient person, and I've always been so frustrated how slow things move, but I feel like now they're moving faster, and the society is catching up. Yes, we have work to do, but I've never been as excited.
I think this is a perfect continuation to the next part, which is the future. So actually this question is for you, Noora. You have mentioned Europe's goal to have at least 2 European tech companies in the top 10 by market cap by 2050. You say that potential is not a problem, but daring to build the best environment for success is. What does that environment look like?
Many of those things have already come up during the conversation here. capital, mentioned multiple times. We need to direct the money we have in this ecosystem to startups. That's one thing. We need, of course, attract talent. What US has done well has been attracting these great people building their startups. I think the share of unicorn founders in US is 60% immigrants. That means that they have gotten the sharpest minds to build precisely in US. First nice signal in Europe is that already this year there are actually more people coming to build in Europe, like work for European startups, than going to US from Europe to build startups. So the tide is already turning. So talent is very, very important. And then, you know, the things I just mentioned, like, you know, culture of winning, the pension funds, the policy making, all of those things. There's so many annoying things in Europe when you think about building a startup. Like, let's say, employee stock option taxation is a very classical example that we always talk about. So imagine that I would give you a stock of my startup and you exercise that option. In many European countries still today, you need to pay the taxes on the day you exercise the option, which makes no sense because you have gotten no money in return yet. It's an unlisted stock. You actually can't sell a startup stock unless there's an investor who is, you know, putting money in and like giving an opportunity to sell yours. So there's many of these small things that we need to adjust. But what's very, very exciting for me is that I've been in Slush now for 5 years, starting as a volunteer in 2021. And if there's one thing that has changed in the wider society during that time is that policymakers are taking startups seriously for the first time. So they're not seen as these like fluffy, cute things that you can support and give charity to, but more so actually the growth engine of European GDP, and maybe our only one that we can actually rely on. So it's very, very, very exciting for me to see that when you actually go to policymakers, both here in Finland and Europe, and you're like, hey, we have problems, right? We need growth. Here's a source of growth, and here's a couple of things we need to change. Here's how we can change them. Shouldn't we do this? So that has been resonating. Of course, policymaking and regulation takes time, but just the shift in the politicians' mindset in the past couple of years has been significant. So I'm very hopeful to see what comes out of that. So that kind of things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, if I can add on, I really agree with the kind of shift in the policy-making attitude here towards startups. We've also at Founders House, we've got a ton of inbound from politicians, like asking us how should we do stuff. And I think you did a super great job with the Finnish founder survey. And I think it's just really great to see that they're actually coming to us students asking how should we do these things now. And also the shift in how media talks about startups. Like, for example, Volt, they're one of the biggest success stories of Finland, but the media during the past 10 years haven't been receiving them very, very well. Like, if we would compare if they would have been in the US, it would have been all celebrating them, but here it has been very critical. But now we see that the media is also so much more interested about startups and the ecosystem and writing positively. So there's a really clear shift in the mindset and kind of decision making in Finland right now. Obviously, it's going to take a while to see the actual impact, but very exciting times.
Sarita.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Maybe I think here it also really helps that we have like kind of the whole topic becoming more active on the European level. So the fact that we have actual numbers, like the one that I mentioned, the European Startup Scoreboard, I think that already, for example, for me, the data about Finland was nothing new. It was just really validating what we already know in the ecosystem, but it gives us concrete numbers to kind of bring to the decision makers as well. That, for example, one of the areas where Finland was really lacking behind was the government level funding for the startup ecosystem. And that's something that now we kind of have a real tool that we can actually build or bring to the decision makers as well, that, hey, see, this is what we lack behind, this is how we could change it. And that I think will help kind of in the coming years as well to make the ecosystem even stronger.
In the last couple of days, we've been talking with the international students here and the professors, and it has been mentioned a couple of times that the mindset is a problem, that the mindset for building and making mistakes, failing, and just going after it, it's not there. So what would be your advice on how to fix that, how to get the mindset to the students to actually go and build the startups and try? Nada.
I want to start because I feel like largely, at least in Finland, that's not a big problem anymore. like what I see, and I think Kia agrees, like we spend so much time with founders, and like there's so many people who are building so bullishly right now, and I think the problem is that our society is not ready for it. Like we're not ready to support these people, and we are kind of like not ready to like not hold them back. Like one number that I love is that 20 years ago there was a survey for high school students in Finland that asked how many of you want to be founders. 1% said yes. So now they redid the survey last year, and the answer was that people from 18 to 25 years old, 50% want to be founders. 50x growth in 20 years. People always say that cultural change is super hard to do. Yes, that is right, but we did it. So I just don't think our society is ready for this generation of founders now. And I don't see it just in Finland. Like it's just, I feel like another question I sometimes get asked is like, young people are so pessimistic and they don't believe in a better future. But I frame it as young people today refuse to take the future that they are now painted as granted and are like, they're so pissed that they want to do something about it. And that's a founder mindset right there. So my answer to your question is like, I don't see that as big of a problem. Yes, there's still work to do, but I feel like we are at the point where we're like, I can't subscribe to a future that looks this bad. So I'm just going to do something about it. And I think that's the starting point. Like, and I'm happy about it. Like, if you're settled and if you're content and you're comfortable, you're not going to want to change things. But now we're not comfortable anymore, and we feel angry. But it's good angry, right?
Yeah. Did you have something, Riikka? You had.
Add on that one. I also agree that actually the students are definitely not the problem here. It's the adults, like it's everybody above the student age. Last week I spent 2 days on this kind of economical forum. There's a closed door event, 100+ people, MPs, journalists, union leaders, like kind of like the top-notch decision makers. 2 days we talk about like why are we so risk averse? And there were not one single person. I think I was the youngest in the room, and I can let you know that my age starts with 4, so I'm not a young person. So, and I think that tells a lot about the attitude in general. That basically, because the fact is that these structures, the legislation, the structures, the funding, it still comes from these older people that I'm also here representing, right? And I think that the change comes with the youth, right? But I think that, frankly speaking, as a Finland and or Europe as a continent, we don't have the time to wait these generations to change. And also, unfortunately, what happens is that I was also very radical when I was in my 20s. I still am, but I also have 3 kids, right? So basically, that also happens in your life, that some part of that, risk-taking, you just lose it because of the realities of life. And that's why I think it's such a great thing that actually the parliament in Finland is actually listening, is reaching out to you and saying that, okay, we don't have that risk averse, that we don't have that nature anymore in us. So Noora, Kia, let us know what to do. And I think that we should, you keep fighting for us.
Perfect. We got to go to the next question, and it's from Matti. So Matti, you work at Sitra, Finland's future fund. Your role is about long-term economical growth and anticipating the future. Sitra just published the Growth Atlas 2026 with 231 solutions for sustainable growth. In 15 years, what should Finland's economy look like? And what is one thing we need to start doing differently to get there?
Well, first of all, many things are great already. I mean, top tier. So there's many things that we don't need to change. Then there's a few things that I would like to see going better. But you said one thing. So
you can say 2 if you have
just
really good
skip
ones.
them. I could say like optimism and brighter vision for the young people. I could say that I'd like to see the growing R&D investments that have been growing steadily since 2017, bringing fruit as products or more venture capital and investors. But if I need to name one, that's more human capital, because all growth comes from human capital, from the fact that there's a certain amount of us with certain skill level. And both of those components need to grow. We need more skills and we need more people. We have a population whose labor-aged population is slowly declining, and therefore we've gotten more and more immigration to Finland. Like, out of all the people in Finland who's got an immigration background, about 30% have moved in during the past 4 years. So the swift is dramatic, but we need more immigration in the future. So that's the one thing.
And how do we make that happen?
That's a good question, because nobody can make it out alone. That's not a policy issue, because government can only make it more difficult for people to move here. But government or policy can't promote migration. That's something that the society and the companies do. And if we look at the amount of working age people in Finland and migration, they're mirror images of each other, because companies need labor. So companies are doing their thing. We just need a government that doesn't hurt them.
Yes.
And I just could continue on this one. So in general, I actually think that Finland doesn't have an attraction issue. We don't have attraction problem. We are actually quite capable of attracting highly educated and educated foreign talent to come to Finland. Where we are actually having a problem is the retention part. So when people come to Finland, we as a country and we as a population, we as Finns, we fail to welcome and integrate these people into Finnish society, and hence they choose to leave, and which is totally understandable. If you have more welcoming atmosphere and more working opportunities, more opportunities in general elsewhere, of course you also leave. And I've been expatriate my life, 11 years abroad, and of course it takes time to settle your roots in a new country and find that placeholder. But if the opportunity, if the grass is greener in the next country, of course you follow. I think that's the Finnish problem.
Oh. So we're coming to the end of this, but I want to ask this all of you, or any of you can answer this question. So we have the professors, the students all around Europe here. So what is one concrete action they can do themselves starting this or next week to build a better environment for success, for a better environment for achieving their own success? Who wants to take it?
If you're a student, join your university's entrepreneurial society. If you don't have one, build one. If you are not a student and a professor, choose the smartest kid you know, or student, a young adult you know, and make them build an entrepreneurial society. And this is the important part. You can't do it yourself if you're not a student. You should have these be built by young people, because that's essentially how all of this in Finland started. So default to action and do that. The best choice I made when I was, 19 years old, was to join my school's entrepreneur society. I learned that you can build things and nobody's going to stop you, and that's the best part. And I'm still on that journey. And if you need any help, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm super happy to tell you how to structure things, how to get started. Always happy to help.
Yeah, if I can add, definitely build these societies and entrepreneurship clubs and all of these, but also build your own projects. Nowadays, there's so many different opportunities and platforms you can build on. You can play around with Lovable, get to know Cursor, Cloud Code, whatever. Just build your own products, because that's what it takes nowadays to actually succeed. You will need to be AI native. I guess connecting back to the AI team we had here earlier. So just play around with those, build your own products, and that will be really appreciated once you go out and try to get to found your own company or work in a startup. Just do your own projects.
Matti, I saw you were reaching for the mic. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a bit to that as well, that also ask for help. I think many people who are already in the ecosystem or are building something are really, really happy to help if you only ask. So just reach out to people, like Nora was saying as well. So I'm sure that you have people in your own countries, in your own ecosystems as well, but also then the foreign ones. Send them messages on LinkedIn. I'm sure that you'll get a lot of replies and a lot of really kind of good advice as well if you feel that you need it.
As a student, I agree 100% what you just said. You can contact anybody almost and ask for help, and you might get it. Did you, Matti, add?
Yeah, I could continue. Build meaningful connections. I mean, like when we say, especially in Finnish, we hate the word networking because it means that you go to a networking event and then you start like passing your like imaginary like business cards. But like build meaningful connections with other people. When I reflect back, like I've been studying in like that, I've done 4 different degrees in 3 different schools, and when I actually think of what's the true benefits of all those years that I spent in different kind of institutions, it's actually the people. And basically, throughout these years, like I don't want to call it like the human capital. It sounds quite horrible, but basically, like the idea that these people that I used to study with and the people that I used to drink beer with are now in a really nice positions in the Finnish society. For example, whenever I'm in trouble, I call them. Human connection is the key, especially because we know that there's so many different kind of technological. The rounds are getting faster and faster. There's new tech coming all the time. But at least for now, we haven't replaced the humans with tech, so get to know each other.
Yeah, pick up the phone and call people. We do that way too little. My point would be cherish your growth mindset, because a lot of things in life are about good luck, and sometimes you try your best and you still fail. But you shouldn't lose faith in the work that you do. Like how you try to improve yourself, how you try your best, because that makes the luck possible.
Thank you so much. Now it's time for the audience question. So how it's going to work? So if you have a question, you can raise your hand and you'll be given a mic. So there we have a question over there. Mics. Just a short moment, please. There was one on the front row first.
Thank you. It's Igor from Dutch Grass Ventures. Nice moderation, Lauri. Nice panel. Thanks a lot. There were a lot of interesting topics like diversity, trust-based society, opportunities for foreigners. So I wanted to ask. I'm living in Helsinki for 2 years. I worked on Supercell-backed startup. I was a member at Founders House. I attended many events. And I actually couldn't find any Ukrainian founders or Ukrainian founding engineers or companies in Finland. But I travel a lot across Europe. I see big diaspora in Germany, Poland, even Cyprus. So my question to all of you would be, why do you think Finland failed to attract Ukrainians in startup ecosystem?
I would say it's probably the same reason we fail to attract any international talent. I wouldn't say there's any specific reason towards those nationalities. I would say it's basically all that you, Riikka, mentioned previously. So the attitude, the welcoming, is maybe not the best yet and something we need to work on.
I would actually disagree. We have Ukrainian founders in our community as well. I know that because we also have Russian founders, and we've had quite a lot of conflicts between our Ukrainian and Russian founders for obvious reasons. So there's about 40 other nationalities of founders as well. So I think it's just more on like kind of where you go and where do you happen to find them. But I think in terms of like kind of founders, Finland typically is just not that big that you would have like a really big community of them. I think we have a lot of talent coming from Ukraine as well. And we, for example, at Maria, we really have had quite a lot of Ukrainians, both building companies and working at startups.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions? Yes, there.
Hello, thank you so much for your lovely answers. So I have one question that is, you were saying in versus like potential versus experience. So you all agreed on potential. So my question being a student, that how do you detect potential when it's not like in the CV or like, yeah. So what do you mean by potential? Thank you.
At least when we review membership and residency applications at Founders House, it kind of works. I pretend to be, an early stage investor because at that point usually they come in the pre-idea phase. So at that stage, sorry, I lost my thought completely. Like, oh whole thread I was saying there. Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, so you guys agreed on potential. So how do you know that person has potential?
Yes, sorry. So basically, usually that person has done something extremely well previously, but it doesn't have to be that you have founded something or you have like worked in an MBB. It can be that you have competed in math competitions, you've done some coding projects, you've been super good or competed at a national level in a specific sport or something like that, and then also references. But you just have to somehow show that you're willing to like put your everything into something, but it doesn't have to be that, like as I said, like an MBB or like any of these huge companies. It can be something you've achieved on your like free time, and that just shows that you're very interested in something. I would say that's like what we look at.
Yeah, I'll continue quickly. We have 2,000 volunteers and recent graduates and students who build Slush every single year. And I would say largely potential is an attitude question. So, like, why do we hire someone at Slush? Yeah, they might have some skills, yes, but mostly it's about, I just believe, I have a conviction this person is going to do whatever it takes to get to the goal. Like, okay, they will fail at first, and okay, you might not have the clearest path, but like, I just know that they will just find a way. And at Slush, we actually have a saying, Slush always finds a way when we have a problem. And I feel like that kind of mindset, that you just don't accept failure, or you don't see the first no as a failure, but you go around. And that comes from attitude and this kind of like never settling mentality. And you can display that in many ways. And I would always rather hire someone who's like very, very, very deeply passionate than someone who's been doing this exact right thing for, I don't know, X amount of years, because usually they're not as hungry. So that's how we look into students who are, getting into the ecosystem as someone who's never been here before.
Matti, you had a point.
There's questions in the audience. So.
Okay. Is it there on the back, Tia?
Do you want me to go or do you want me to back? No, because I'm also want to have a question, so I don't know.
Okay,
We have time for 2 quick questions.
So I have been now listening to the Walt story audiobook, and there it's like it came very clear that Miki was super strategic about building the right team, and so I have been just thinking like, because of course he had like the network and everything. So how can someone who wants to like build their own company find the right people? Like how do you attract those like top talent people if you don't, for example, have that network?
I would say build that network. Go to events. There's so many different events. Kia mentioned earlier that there's a lot of different initiatives for startups in the Helsinki region, for example. There is a ton of places where you can find the kind of people. So just go to all of those and find the people that feel like your people, feel like the kind of people that complement your skills and are kind of able to bring something to the team that you don't already have, and that you're able to kind of have the kind of relationship that you know that you would get along with them even when things get a bit tougher. That would be my tip.
Yeah, and I would say after you've done that, really, really, if you're an early stage founder and you're like looking for your first co-founder or for your first hire, you're the one who needs to sell what you're building. So really, really get passionate about what you're building and learn to convince that idea, because that's how if you can convince someone else to be as hyped about what you're building as you are, then it's going to be much easier. So first, build your network, go to events, talk to people so that people like start recognizing, oh, I saw her at this event. Oh, she's here again. She must be doing something relevant because she's in all of these events. And then actually like learn to sell your idea to your first hire.
Yes, that you...
I just wanted to say that hiring is selling, just as Kia was mentioning.
So, unfortunately, we don't have any more time for questions. I'm sorry. I want to thank our panelists, Noora, Sarita, Kia, Riikka, and Matti, for coming here. Can we get one big applause for them? Thank you very much.
Stay here for a while for a picture together.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Gotta go
1
closer.
second for the camera to activate.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, and one more.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Do we have, before you go off stage, please Matti, thank you for your participation. Let's go this way around. Riikka, thank you.
I'll step aside. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sarita.
Thank you.
And thank you, Nora. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Lauri, for hosting the panel discussion. And now let's get ready for the student startup competition.
Se meni tosi hyvin. Kiitoksia. Kiitos.
One more, please. So, INNOVA Europe is a pan-European coalition which is dedicated to promote responsible entrepreneurship among students and alumni. We host Europe's leading academic startup competition and conduct insightful research, organize impactful activity that empower the next generation to tackle today's most pressing challenges. Today, the coalition includes Aalto University, ESMT Berlin, London Business School, EdHec Business School, Polymi Graduate School of Management, as well as Universität Wien.
And I know it's been a long day, so let's just take a minute and let's give everyone an applause for being here today, and a welcome to everyone. Yes, it's been a joy to be able to get to know everyone here that's traveled or even maybe traveled 15 minutes from downtown. But a little bit more about INNOVA Europe. So the purpose of INNOVA is clear. It's to connect the talent, innovation, and purpose across Europe through very bold, collaborative, and meaningful entrepreneurship. They believe that there is audacious talent here in Europe that is capable of creating and implementing innovative solutions that will transform tomorrow's world and our future. And by partnering across borders, INNOVA Europe brings together Europe's brightest innovators in an environment where collaboration fuels possibility. Through innovative project ideas, we will embrace boldness, creativity, and collaboration together.
So now, let's get on to the student startup competition series. So we have 11 schools here and 11 teams which are pitching. Each pitch will be 4 minutes long, after which we have a 4-minute Q&A with the jury here in the middle. And if the pitches go over time, the two of us will stop you at latest at 4:30 to ensure that there's time for the Q&A. Your pitches will be assessed based on the impact and sustainable development goal relevance, the strength and clarity of the proposal, the structure and completeness of the document, team diversity, innovation and ambition, identification of market or mission, feasibility based on skills and resources, as well as technological content and innovation.
And for the prizes and awards, the startup teams and pitches today will be all at an idea stage. They've been asked to focus on SDGs 13, 12, or 10, which align towards climate action, reduced inequalities, and responsible consumption and production. The teams are competing for 4 prizes today. The first place will take 15,000 euros, second place will leave with 5,000, and third place gets 2,500. The fourth prize is separate from the other prize. This one is the most innovative prize at 2,500. This will be given to a team with the most thought-provoking and revolutionary idea. This prize is selected by peer review, meaning that the folks that are here sitting in the room with us today all will be able to vote at least one time, and just one time.
Then let's go to the esteemed jury members that we have here. So Jarno Hyvönen is the co-founder and CEO of Volare. Volare is a Nordic deep tech company scaling circular insect protein production. Jarno leads Volare's growth, fundraising, and partnerships, driving the company's proprietary technology from research to full industrial production and positioning Volare at the forefront of the global protein transition. Volare is currently building its first full-scale factory in Finland and is already serving companies in the pet food and global aquafeed companies. Niklas Kaskiala. Niklas is the co-founder of the Activist Agency, a strategic communications and advocacy agency built to accelerate change. He is a climate and environmental activist with more than 20 years of experience in the field. His work focuses on helping companies move beyond conventional sustainability towards ways of operating that actively support ecological regeneration and systems change. Then, Wilson Tukiainen. Wilson is an investment manager at Maki VC, a Helsinki-based early-stage venture capital firm, which backs exceptional founders in the Nordics and Baltics. Prior to joining Maki, Wilson focused on analyzing Nordic companies in analyst roles across both private and publicly listed markets. He's also passionate about entrepreneurship and the role it plays in addressing the world's most pressing challenges.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, we can clap for that. All right, so the moment we've all been waiting for, we'll kick off the student startup pitching. I feel like everyone needs to take a deep breath with us. Should we do it all together? Ready, breathe in. And out. Should we do one more? Yes, okay, well, in and out. Amazing.
See more relaxed faces now.
Yeah. All right, so now the pitching order. Something important here, this is the order for today, and this list has been randomized. It is with no particular order. And the way that this will work is we will begin with the 6 teams. Then we will have a break, and we'll hear the final 5 teams pitch. For the teams that will be pitching, we'll have you come during the Q&A right before you go up on the stage. We'll also help with guiding it during the process. Try to stay present during the other team's pitches. I know it may be hard, but we'll help try to guide this throughout the next, throughout all the pitches. So, with that said,
let's welcome up on stage our first team in the INNOVA Europe pitching competition, Universität Wien.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Antonia, and I am presenting today Reeboks. Think about the one time that you want to go camping and you need a tent. You don't want to buy one, so what are you going to do? Or if you want to go climbing and you need one equipment for only one crazy hike that you have planned with your friends. You don't buy the product, you rent them. Use it for a couple times, send it back to the rental company, they clean it, and rent it out again to the next company. The product is reused, but the packaging is not. On the left, you can see a product moving from company to customer to company. The product and the system is built for reuse. On the right, you can see a product which is made for disposal. Each shipment requires a new packaging, which produces waste. This mismatch produces a mismatch for the companies, or the rental companies in particular. It needs waste and costs that are not relevant. or not needed. Sorry. This mismatch is becoming increasingly more relevant today. A while ago, this was not a problem. Companies used their products once, shipped them once, sold them once. No problem. The systems matched. But everything is changing right now. Rental companies are growing across Europe. European equipment rental markets are growing tremendously and are covering around 33 billion in annual turnover. Same is happening with the regulations. There's an accelerating shift towards reusable systems. The market is moving towards reusability, but the logistics systems has not caught up. But what would a system caught up look like? It would be a system that matches how rental companies operate. And that's why we built Rebox. You don't need an operational change. It's no new innovation on how the product moves. It's seamlessly integrated into existing logistics system. It has a foldable design for efficient storing and a residue-free label area for continuous usage and rental cycles. And that's how we identify impact. One Rebox can replace up to 70 disposable boxes. This saves water on huge amounts, 11x, lowers CO2 emissions by the factor of 3, and most importantly, significantly reduces waste. For €4 a month, companies per box, companies can rent or subscribe to Rebox, a service that is made for rental companies and for their needs. Needs change throughout the year. Different sizes of boxes, different quantities, different demands. Rebox adapts. It gives companies the flexibility to work exactly how they want to operate. Included in the service is the repair and replacement of the Rebox and an impact dashboard, which is for each customer to track their impact. Right now, we have secured our first manufacturing partner, or only hopefully one, and we have our first 2 confirmed pilot customers, and right now we're preparing for our 3-month pilot, starting in September, with around 200 boxes. This will give us the opportunity to test operational design, durability, and actual real-world acceptance. If products are reused, packaging should be too, and it's time that the systems around it caught up. Thank you so much for your attention. And I'm happy for all of your questions now, if there are any.
Start.
You were about to.
No, okay. Oh, it's on. Why only outdoor gear? Why not other rental services?
That's planned in the future, so we are planning to enter the market with outdoor gear rental. There's a huge market growing right now in Germany and Austria, and then in the future there's a lot of possibilities. We have also had a lot of conversations with rentals of fashion and electronics and all different. We just had really nice conversations with rental companies, so we decided to go for that one.
Cool, thank you very much. Great pitch. And one thing that I'm thinking about is, have you looked at the cost base and what would be the main costs that you would have? Because it's of course, these are always a little bit complex business models with different things. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So I am setting up my own production line. So there is an initial cost. So that at the stage that we are right now, that's the biggest cost, I would say. And then the production, because it's not a lot of people involved right now, or quite student-based. Our operational cost is quite minimal, and also the tech is not really a lot. So I think our production cost would be our main factor here.
Thanks a lot for a great pitch and cool idea. So could you open a bit more about like the material or the innovation behind the product that allows it to be more durable and better than the cartons at the moment?
Of course. So we are working with a virgin polypropylene. I know everyone's thinking, oh my God, it's not recyclable, but we have been testing, and with recyclable plastic, there is just too much compromises we have to do with the durability. So we've decided to start with virgin polypropylene, and this gives us the security and also the safety for the equipment inside of the boxes to really have the 70 reusage and actually make the math possible for it being more sustainable than cardboard boxes. But we are developing or trying out the recycled plastic as well, or polypropylene.
One more question. Have you considered, because you mentioned that you would also sell the maintenance service for the boxes. Can you tell a little bit more about that and the complexities that will bring into the business?
So when boxes are broken, which sometimes can happen, the logistics system is not always going perfectly, maybe a washing machine will fall on it, then that happens. This is already calculated in our price. Otherwise, the companies we're going to be working with together are going to have the maintenance of cleaning the boxes. We thought that's going to be a problem in the we thought it's going to be a problem, but literally everyone I talked to told us, don't worry about that one. We take hours cleaning the equipment. One little box is not going to be a problem for us, which was quite surprising, and we were happy about it. And end of life cycle, I do have a recycling company who is going to recycle the material. It's all out of one material, so perfectly recyclable, and can be reused for crates and more durable and fixed materials. So there is also a second life for our product. Yes. All happy? Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And next up, we have ESMT Berlin. Please make your way to the stage.
Good luck. Hello.
For the past 3 years, my skin has controlled my life. This was me and my co-founder Yasmin, and because of our acne, we were avoiding parties and mirrors, spending hundreds of euros on products that didn't work, and no doctor helped us further than to hand us random prescriptions. But this did not only happen to us. This is the story of 7 million women in Germany.
Women are structurally invisible in medicine. They have been excluded from clinical trials for the longest time, are now 7 times more likely to be misdiagnosed, and less than 1% of the global R&D goes to women's health.
Acne, specifically in women, needs more attention because it's not just about dirty skin. It's a very complex disease where many different factors are interdependent and influence acne, such as hormonal changes, diet, chronic stress, and many others. Despite this complexity, the reality is this: 84 days until you get a dermatologist appointment, 6-minute average consultation, and dermatology, nutrition, and hormonal health are only regarded separately.
So she does what I did, spending hours researching online in a sea of misinformation, restricting her diet, and spending 600 euros a year on skincare that doesn't work. So every breakout still feels random.
And these costs compound over years, leading to a higher prevalence in depression, hundreds of dollars spent in acne care, and having heavy side effects from heavy medication for years.
The problem persists because of one reason. There is no tool out there that tracks skincare, menstrual cycle, lifestyle, diet all together. And that's what we want to do. We want to connect these dots so that it makes sense for the woman, but also for the expert, to actually understand what's happening beneath the skin and treat it effectively.
So here's how Lunara works. She tracks her cycle, diet, lifestyle, products, and skin all in one app. Our AI Luni recognizes patterns and gives personalized recommendations, for example, on what to eat and what products to use. And whenever the user has further questions, our AI chat Luni is there for her 24/7. And when Luni recognizes that something needs a further input, she directly connects her to an expert such as a nutrition or skin expert that has her full data set. And then finally, she can feel guided and not dismissed. She can act on her patterns and she can save millions or hundreds of dollars for products by using products that only work for her skin specifically.
We validated this with 18 women who also tried our mock-up and joined our waitlist. We engaged 4 medical experts and one of them joined our team. And currently we have 8,000 organic views on our TikTok account.
The market in Germany alone is already 1.4 billion, and our immediate target gets us 6.6 million euros ARR.
This business model is very simple. It consists of a freemium subscription with up to $9.99 a month per user, and we have an additional layer of video consultations with experts.
So we reach the women where they're already looking. This means TikTok and SEO content, influencer partnerships, and later on through their doctors and insurances.
The current market only offers skincare apps and telehealth that give generic advice. No one focuses on the woman as a whole, and that is the space we are building into.
Skin is the entry point, but women's health is the mission. Our infrastructure extends naturally to other conditions where women are affected, such as PCOS and PMS.
Yasmin and I have lived this for years. Laura is a certified nutritionist and Kamea is an MD. We are the ICP and have clinical expertise.
The prize money will accelerate our go live. It will set us up for our MVP and the legal groundwork that needs to be done.
For the past 3 years, my skin has controlled my life. With your support, we make sure fewer women have to say this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, ladies. Hi. Amazing job. I got goosebumps, so it got into my feelings. So that's really, really great. It tells about your story as well. My first question is regarding regulation. This is a little bit of an unknown space for me. Will you need any approvals of authorities in order to market your product or for people to use it?
Yeah, so in the beginning, we would launch as a lifestyle or wellness app and parallelly at the same time try to get the CE certification, which is needed all across Europe. And that's more for the further future. There is something for digital health products that can be covered by insurances. But what we really need to do first parallelly is the CE certification. That takes 1.5 years.
Thanks a lot for an amazing pitch. I think you're both naturals, but also well rehearsed. So that was great. Very cool idea with a nice impact. So one question, I see a lot of different health apps in targeting different problems, and everyone wants to integrate and track all the metrics. So how do you see in the future when consumers have these different kind of apps, how will you be the one that gets their screen time and their attention?
Yeah, so we try to make it also as easy as possible to integrate the tracking for the users. So, for example, many are already using Clue or Flow, so they could integrate the data in our app or also other wearables like Aura or Whoop, for example. And yeah, we just try to fit into that data ecosystem. Also, if people are already tracking maybe their hormones more specifically with companies like INNOVA, for example, with at-home saliva testing or non-invasive hormonal wearables, we would try to integrate that and make it as easy as possible.
No questions from Niklas. You kind of answered this partly already, but data would be, of course, the core of your product. Where will you get the data before you have a massive amount of users?
There is databases that we can access that are openly available where we can get data from. And that could be feed it into our model, yes. Fed into the model.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ESMT Berlin. Next up, IE Business School.
Hello, hello. Yes. Oops. Did you know that just in Spain, about 300,000 pets are abandoned each year? That's roughly 1 every 2 minutes. This is Volk, a German Shepherd that left us a few months ago. Since then, I began what I didn't know would be such a hard road, the road to adopt. What a pet brings into a person's life shouldn't be blocked by the chaos of that process. That's why at some point I stopped the search and started asking one question. Why has no one built anything better? Because the issue is not what most people talk about. It's not just that adoption is a maze that starts in Google. It's more than that, it's fear. Fear. It's also that abandonment metrics won't fall even though pet ownership is rising, and that shelters carry the operational burden with little help or channels to receive that help. But this is not just a Spanish problem. Across Europe, it happens in different variants, and in Finland, the issue is a bit different. It's cats, where 20,000 cats are abandoned or born without a home each year. This is why we created BabBab. It starts as the pet adoption marketplace in Spain, where finding your ideal companion without friction becomes real. And we're solving several issues of this loop. First of all, for the adopters, we make the search structured with intelligent filters and verified profiles. On the shelter side, we make interest manageable with a comprehensive dashboard that they can actually use with qualified applications and also status updates. And the giving, of course, is embedded across the whole product. So what you just saw is the core loop of the adoption. The next layer, the post-adoption support, that's the core assumption we raise to validate. This is the same in static form. So how does BabBab really work, right? BabBab is freemium on both sides, but we keep the core metrics, the core functionalities that we think that are going to solve the problem free forever. And later we monetize with users, with adopters, with services, post-adoption support, and optional shelter upgrades. And of course the giving, which is embedded in the product and free for the shelters, which every monetary and every material donations flow directly into the shelters. About the market in Spain, we see an observable we observe a serviceable digital opportunity of 400 million, and we deliberately size 3% of that as the obtainable. And it's very important to highlight that the 3 factors are affecting this marketplace and converging in the moment. The pet humanization, the welfare gap that is widening, and the legal push that it's making trust mandatory. I'm Juan, with background in finance and growth, with Gustavo Arrieta as PMO and mentor, with our first lighthouse, Asociación Las Nieves, Mari Carmen, and we're leading the senior technical ownership for the post-adoption support and scaling. For this, we're raising $150,000 to verify the loop and reach the seed with evidence. This would fund the post-adoption support and the shelter go-to-market. And this is where you would come in, as every prize euro would directly go into the early stage validation and the early go-to-market. So just to conclude, BabBab exists so that the responsible way to be an owner and to adopt becomes the easiest one. So that's why we're looking for investors who believe in the mission, advisors who know this world, and shelters ready to connect. So help us change their lives, both of them. Quitos.
Muchas gracias, Juan.
De nada.
And then I'll switch to English. Great. Thank you for the pitch. Where does the name come from? Is the first question.
The name comes from I was thinking about the name. It starts as a Bedifier adopter platform, but we thought that it was fun, and then because this is not only for dogs or big dogs, so we thought that BabBab, it's like 2 barks of 2 dogs. That's why we see this here. And at the beginning, you know, you don't really know what it means, but then it's a bit catchy, so we stuck with it.
Perfect.
Thanks for a great pitch. I was interested to hear more about the problem of fear to adopt. So could you kind of make me smarter about that? So what kind of validation have you done, and what's like the research behind it?
We've done hundreds, officially more than 50 interviews, personal interviews, but I stop with pet owners almost every day. When we ask what took them long, for the people that took them long to adopt or to get a dog, they say that this is normally something new for a lot of people, a lot of young people, and these new things, when you take into account it's a living person, a living animal, people aren't sure if they are going to be good owners. So this is why this is fear of not matching with the correct animal. Maybe you get a big dog and that's going to be a bit messy, or maybe you get a cat and you should get a dog. And this is why we put the knowledge of the shelters, so they are the last one who approve your qualification, your qualified application. So you do a qualified application that brings to the shelter, and the shelter is like, okay, this person has a big apartment with a terrace, okay, a big dog. This person has a kid and lives with their grandmother, maybe a smaller dog. So we close this loop.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I have a dog myself, and if I would get another one, I would probably try to find like through some sort of adoption. But what I've been thinking a lot about is also the trust and kind of the human trust, the ones who have been working, getting that personal connection with the shelters. So how do you kind of make both sides trust each other, both the shelters and the potential adopter?
Yes, this is basically our go-to-market strategy. So I've already started going personally to the shelters, verifying that. So what happened to me and what happens to many people that want to adopt is that you go into internet and you see that the websites, the websites are super updated from the shelters. Phone numbers, they don't even work. So I wanted to go to the market and actually verify this. So the profiles are going to be verified, and not verified by Juan, but verified by our website, who we're going to assure that the people that are taking care of the dogs are who they say they are. They have the experience, they have the learnings, and they have the teachings available to really, so you make the good decision.
Do we still have time? Yes. Thank you. Great pitch. I was wondering, like, which SDG this solves. I think responsible consumption was there. I think I'm a dog owner myself, and when I got a dog, I was thinking about, okay, should I adopt or should I perhaps buy it from a kennel? And obviously, owning a dog it's a huge burden on the climate and environment. So how do you emphasize this, like that it's more climate friendly or environmentally friendly to adopt an existing dog than to buy one from a kennel?
So I want to be sincere. The climate maybe is not the SDG that we might help the most. Maybe through not throwing away perishable materials, but it's more the circular economy about this. We model that in Europe from 0.5 to 1.5 billion euros yearly of reusable goods are thrown away, but by one family no longer needs them and another one does. So that's why we also build Babab, so that the Babab connects them. You know, families who need them, families who doesn't need those reusable materials, and also with the shelters that we see that in many shelters, private ones, sorry, I'm going out of time, get the materials, the colors, the beds, the toys. So this is more the circular economy. Oh, sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next up, we have ETH Zurich.
Hello, my name is Kostas, and today I came to Finland to talk about my favorite industry. Shipping moves the world. But this interest did not arise from books, but rather for my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father. They all have sat at my dinner table. And after we finished talking about when am I getting married and if I'm having kids, we start talking about what really concerns them. Shipping is a very outdated industry, where decisions are being taken by intuition rather than data. However, due to recent events like the pandemic, the energy crisis, and global tensions, shipping has become more competitive, and digital transformation is required. And it's also not only required, but possible, because every new ship has more sensors than its predecessor, and also due to the Starlink technology. And this makes me mad about one problem: dry docking scheduling. Dry docking is the process where you take the ship outside of the water in order to perform the necessary maintenance. As you can imagine, if you don't schedule it correctly and you use your intuition rather than data, then for sure you're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, and you're also not minimizing your emission. And this is where we come in. What we propose is a predictive analytics platform using real data and industry expertise in order to move from intuition-based decisions to data-driven decisions and ultimately reduce costs. After speaking with our advisors, we decided that the best look for our product is this. We eventually want to build a digital twin model. However, I want to state something. This is not a product to make ships more efficient. Of course, it will do that. However, ultimately, what ship owners care about is saving money.
So we saw how the platform looks like, but let's see what's underneath it. We're starting from the risk assessment, then we're going to the famous AI. But this time, AI is not just a catchphrase. It's a real artificial intelligence that's cutting the costs inside of the industry. These are intelligent agents and final digital twins with live emission monitoring that we're going to prepare in the future. So we know how we're going to earn, but how much actually the whole industry is worth. In total, it's $42 billion. Where at the beginning, we're going to focus only gas carriers, being worth $4 billion. And they're spending enormous $110 million per year on software. And this is going to grow exponentially in the next couple of years. So that's why our target annual recurring revenue is $12 million in the next 5 years. Of course, there is some competition in this area. But as you can see, we're the only company checking out all of the boxes with the predictive maintenance on top. And we're the team, international team of broad capabilities, going through shipping, technology, operations, and finance, with Cherry on top, which are the advisors from Capital Gas Corporation, where managing director is Kostas Dat. And our roadmap is pretty straightforward. We're setting up the project, we're getting first contracts in Greece. Then by the end of next year, we have a fully operational platform. By the beginning of 2028, we are aiming for a goal of first 5 paid pilot contracts. So that's why I think it's pretty easy to answer the question, why us? We are the team that can make it happen. So help us keep shaking move the world with our team.
Hey there. So these are your team members, not the next one.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
We're missing our finance expert.
Our finance guy is actually on the way from the airport right now.
It's good. Good that the finance guy is busy as well. One question is that why do you plan to start the first pilots only in 2028? Why not yesterday?
This will take a lot of data. And while we have access to the data, we're starting to building the product step by step. And I don't believe it's viable that we will manage to do it before that.
Yes, so then we want to have the fully operational platform by the end of next year, but there are a lot of steps. Also, it's kind of engineered to order. So building digital twin, it's not so easy. You need to get a lot of data, so we cannot just build for all of the ships at once.
Thank you for the pitch. When I saw shipping, I got very excited that now we're going to have a big impact. So I was slightly disappointed that it was only optimization. But could you open more about the impact? You talked a lot about cost savings. So what are some of what's the sustainability angle here? Fuel savings? Yeah, tell me more.
So basically, there are a lot of processes, not only dry docking, that you can do to make your ship more efficient. And where we play is the trade-off between should I do dry docking or should I do the other maintenance, like in-water maintenance? And in this trade-off, always the most economical solution is also the most ecological solution. I can give you a number, but I'm sure that what we want to achieve is 15% fuel savings.
Yes, and additionally, maybe also talking money-wise, the operation of the ship per day is between 150,000 to even 300,000 right now per day. So if they're during the dry docking process, they're losing loads of money, it's going up to millions. If we're going to optimize it and maybe do the dry docking less frequently, that's a huge saving for them.
Do we still have time? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Maybe a silly question, but since you're focusing on climate action and obviously the reduced fuel savings is your angle here, all the pictures of the ships you had were fossil fuel ships transporting LNG. Why that? Why not project maybe a cleaner future for the shipping industry, which is almost fully run on fossil fuels, and you even chose to take ships transporting fossil fuels?
So basically, LNG is a huge market right now. Only Greece ordered 112 LNG ships at the beginning of 2026. So it's still a growing market. It's actually very environmental, and the industry is moving to this area right now because they are not ready to move all the ships to the more sustainable fuels, the fossil fuels. So that's why that's our best aim. Also, ships that are powered by LNG have the highest amount of sensors. So we can train our intelligent agents based on these sensors.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Sail away. Great pitch. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you to ETH Zurich. Next, we have UCD Michaels Murphy Business School. Please. Do you need another mic?
Every year, right around this corner, in my country, Bangladesh, around 1.27 million farmers are suffering due to seasonal flood. And it creates havoc at that time, as 83,000 hectares of farmland are becoming useless for them. And it is causing around 3.9 million agricultural loss. But the more scary part is, Bangladesh is at risk of losing 30% of its land by 2050 because of this radical climate change. But you might be thinking this is unique to me. No, it's unique to all of you. Because across South Asia, 3.27 million land is affected due to this climate problem and recurring floods. And in Europe, yes, in Europe, it is 1.28 million. And it is affecting countries like Greece, Spain, and Netherlands. So we are in the same stream of the same problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Team Orno, and we are here to answer a very simple question. What if we stop fighting water and start working with it? Introducing our solution, Orno boxes. As you can see, this is a very small prototype in the table. So these Orno boxes are actually a float farming solution. And it has a space of 0.15 square meter in real time, which is equivalent to a small suitcase. And it can grow around 30 to 50 radishes in one box. The good part is that it can also support 35 kg above the water surface, and it is durable. It can last 5+ years. And one box costs only €1.25 per box if made in Bangladesh alone. And the impact is huge. By covering 50,000 hectares of land, the growth is 1.5% for rural income, and at the same time, the crop production increases by 2%. And most importantly, 3.3 million flood-affected families can get food by this.
Great. Hi, I'm Rasa. So we begin with a focused 9.4 million
market entry in Bangladesh, with clear expansion towards a 234 million opportunity. So, in terms of how we are different, traditional floating farming relies on organic beds like water hyacinth, so it's seasonal and less durable. Orano keeps farmers producing year-round, survives the floods, and lasts over 10 years. So initially, we are targeting governments and NGOs directly at scale, and as well as farmers. So we start off with a standard kit that will cost a farmer around under €10 with the help of an NGO, and will pay back 1.5 times in the first flood season. So in terms of, we are asking for €56,000 in order to fund our initial pilot. This will help us fund our initial pilot. So initially, we will start off in Jessore, and then we will expand into Europe. So we have actually ran a pilot already in Jessore, Bangladesh, which the feedback was really good from all the farmers, and we hope to continue working with them. So we've also built a digital layer, which gives the farmers flood alerts, water level monitoring, and So, do we have the expertise? So we have Nusrat and I, as well as Anna, Imam, and Fahad. And we are really looking forward to bringing this product to the next level. We come from different backgrounds, but we share the same belief that communities most exposed to climate risks deserve sustainable infrastructure, not temporary aid. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Very interesting proposal. You mentioned NGOs and maybe government aid organizations as well. At the moment, the development community is not perhaps like money is tight there. Governments are cutting on the development spending they're doing. Have you taken this into account, and how much are you relying on these public funds?
So firstly, the magic of this product is that individual farmers can actually buy directly from us. And secondly, why in Bangladesh particularly, I've discussed with the NGOs, and they are like NGOs like BRAC, they are very much enthusiastic about this because the issue is very severe and it's happening every year. And since they cannot harvest, they are migrating to the big cities and they're working there. So and also government is spending a scheme for them during this season so that they can have a extra income. So this is actually very much highly appreciated in Bangladesh alone. But we are not, that's the magic of this product, is that we don't have to be like dependent on the NGOs, because a farmer can afford a €1.25 box, with which he can harvest 20 to 30 lettuce, or maybe 60 to 50 radishes. So that would be an income for themselves. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much. Great pitch. Can you tell a little bit more about the design and the IP related to that, and your plans specifically for covering that?
Yeah, so the design is there, like the small prototype. So the IP thing is our main first initial plan. So if we get the prize here, maybe this is the one thing we are going to do, and we are going to we are going to partner with Nova UCD, that is our in-house ecosystem, for creating the IP for this product, because that would be quicker here than doing it in Bangladesh. Yeah.
Thanks for a great pitch. I'm also interested about the weight. Did you say that it can cover 35 kilos and also the lifetime? So what are the restrictions? Why does it only last 5 years, and why only 35 kilos?
So there's a science behind it a little bit, I would say. The flood can be around 4 to 5 feet. So based on that, we need a product or dimension that can actually float. And the soil more than 35 would actually sink the platform. So that's why it's we have made it safe for 35 kg. Yeah.
And if it's very rainy, how much would the weight be for one of the platforms? If there's soil and the plants and the rain?
Yeah, so that's where the digital layer comes in. I'll give it to my...
Yeah, so in terms of the digital layer, we're looking at tracking a few different things. So we'll be able to track the water level monitoring through IoT sensors that will be placed kind of regionally. So we'll be able to kind of track the level of it. And based off that, the kind of depth of the water, the farmers will be able to see how much, where they can move their boxes to, and how much kind of weight it can take based off the rainfall as well.
One last question. The farmers would use a digital platform for tracking that. Do they have access, sorry, this might be an ignorant question, but do they have access to internet and like a pad or, what will be the solution that would actually work on the field?
That's a great question. So the idea behind that is the data would be cached. So the most recent update weather would be saved there for them, as well as the predicted forecast. So hopefully they'll be able to get back in touch with internet, but that is a realistic thing to happen, so yeah.
Yeah, but by the way, in Bangladesh, the internet penetration is around 99%, so that won't be a problem. But just to add, why you guys should care, because Bangladesh would be a low-cost validation pilot place. Because in EU, there's a lot of regulations, but this could be a perfect opportunity to actually see how the idea works. And definitely with our 6 months pilot, it did actually work. So it would be great to fasten it here and then do it again in a commercial way. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Awesome, thank you so much. And next up, we have EdHec Business School.
Thank you very much. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, perfect. Hi, everyone. I don't have the... Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. I want you all to look at this person right here. He is my client, Vincent. And Vincent has been sleeping on his friend's couch for almost 3 months before I met him. Actually, for 2 stupid reasons. The first one is that he couldn't find a furnished flat. And the second one, it's because he couldn't afford 2,500 euros to furnish an empty one. And in the way that 80% of students are looking for the 40% furnished flats available on the market, there is an issue. High demand, low offer, we need and must do something for that. Especially because we're talking about 3 million students in France, 20 million students in whole Europe that have the same battle every year. Now, my name is Bilal. I'm the founder of Refurb. And I'm going to talk about 2 crises that nobody connects. First, there is student precarity. We're talking about 7 out of 10 students having financial difficulties with half of their budget going for housing, which is a lot. And then we have 11 million tons of furniture wasted every year in Europe. We're talking about sofas, desks, chairs, tables, perfectly usable, gone. 2 problems, 1 solution. And I present you Refurb. Refurb is as the way we refurbish old furniture to give it a second life. We change the way to get a furnished flat. It's very easy to understand. In brief, we artificially increase the amount of furnished flats available on the market. You take an empty flat, it's 20% cheaper. It's very, very easy to find 60 to 70% of the flat markets, and then you rent your furniture with our company. It starts at 55 euros a month for a fully equipped student room. It works very easily. You rent an empty flat with partner agencies, then you rent the furniture, then we deliver it within 48 hours, and at the end we take everything back. Now you're gonna ask me, how is it going? I'm gonna tell you how it's going. This is me 9 months before. I just said, don't think twice, just do something. So I dropped out of my internship, I bought my old father's red old truck, and I started gathering second-hand furniture and just find students who needed a flat. And I'm very proud to say that 9 months later, it's already 70 active monthly customers, which are also 70 students helped to have a furnished flat. Yes, we are reducing inequalities. You don't need to have 2,500 euros to have a home. We're talking about 40 flats furnished with refurb, reused furniture. You're guaranteed that it's a clean city, sustainable, and responsible with no furniture thrown away down the building. And we're talking about 1,100 pieces of furniture saved, which means a sustainable way of consumption. And trust me, guys, you don't need to have brand new furniture to have a stylish flat. Now, about the business model, we're talking about a B2C subscription. The gross margin goes up to 70%, and we have zero customer acquisition cost through a win-win deal with real estate agencies. Lille is, of course, just the start. We're talking about 20 million students in Europe. That's a 9 billion market. And I'm here, surrounded by my brother, which is managing the operations, and very trustful entrepreneurs and partners, especially Pauline Ame, which is a partner at Three Hills Capital, a UK investment fund, and she's been helping me now. It's been before, 2 years ago. They will guide us through the evolution of Refurb. In 2026, at the end, we're aiming at 200 active monthly customers. A year after, we're aiming at tripling everything, and in 2028, we're aiming at opening a new city. Now, I thank you all, and remember something Refurb gives. It gives student home, and it gives furniture a second life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's great to see that you're already in action. That's lovely. My question is regarding how do you source the furniture, and then how do you keep track of them and their shape, basically?
Okay, first about the tracking, because it's the easier question. So each and every furniture has an ID. And the goal is that we put a stick on the furniture, and we just track it with a QR code. So we know if we track it, where is it, what flats, what was the former user, the actual, and maybe the future user. So this is a tracking system. Of course, we have like 1,100 pieces of furniture. We have to track them. It's broken, we delete it, and everything, yeah. And when it comes to the other question, how do we source the furniture? So this is second-hand furniture. In the future, we're aiming at mixing second-hand and brand new. Because as you know, if you have a mattress, you prefer to have a brand new mattress than a second-hand mattress. So first, how did it go last year? In Lille, especially in Lille, we were very lucky because we're between Belgium and Lille, and there is a lot of ressourceries. So a ressourcerie is a place, a local charity. We have actually 5 local charities with whom we're working, and they gather furniture from people that give furniture. It's an association, and they're helping people. And so at the end, they have a shop, and they put for sale. So we go there and we say, okay, we're going to take all the couches you couldn't actually sell to people, and we're going to buy them at a very, very low price. That's why we have a 70% gross margin. And we do this with a few charities, and that's why it's very interesting, because we pay them for money that they will use for actually social stuff, social use, and this is very interesting. This is the cycling thing in Refurb is real, so I like it.
Thanks a lot for a great pitch, great energy. I've actually been in a situation where I've moved abroad to study and to unfurbished apartments and moved back to Finland to temporary apartments. So I've actually found a few companies in Finland that are doing this, and probably in other cities as well. So I want to ask you, what do you see as the main reason why no one has been able to make this global or bigger?
I couldn't know that because I'm like going forward slowly, cities by cities. And I guess this is also the reason why it's working. Because I'm not pretending to do a website with sourced furniture from China and everything automatized. I don't have to touch anything. I'm just trying to solve an issue in this city, Lille. There is a lot of unfurnished flats, not enough furnished flats. We try to make a balance out of it. So we communicate with clients, students. I have the WhatsApp number of all my clients. And I said, okay, you're looking for a furnished flat. Here is an unfurnished flat, here is furniture. Price is the same, even cheaper. We solve an issue progressively. All the cities are not the same, so you have to adapt according to cities, countries, culture, I guess. So I think for me, this is the way I work, and I guess this is how it's working for now. but I don't know. There is Finnish, I guess it's an American company, but it's like very expensive furniture. You don't want to spend 200 euros in furniture, I guess, every month.
We're running out of time.
You sure?
Yeah. We have 12 seconds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to EdHec, our last before the break. So now we have a 20-minute break. Be back here before 14:45, so 15 to 3, because then Niklas Kaskiala will have a keynote for us. Thank you. And yes, food to be found. Oh, what? Coffee and tea to be found in the moo over there. Follow up, Urva.
All right. I hope everybody had a chance to get a cup of coffee or something, and let's continue the program. Great to be here. So, I'm Niklas Kaskela. I've been given 15 minutes in addition to my duties as being a member of the jury. So, I hope you'll pay attention and listen to what I have to say. This might be useful for your future ventures as well. So, this is my message for today. I'm a climate and environmental activist and an entrepreneur. But I define myself first and foremost as an activist. And the way I define activism is that it's the opposite of staying passive. So as an activist, I might not be, blocking traffic in front of the Finnish Parliament House, but I am an activist because I don't remain passive. And I hope during these 15 minutes I can ensure you why activism makes sense. This picture is why I became an activist. Does anyone know what's going on in this picture? Why I became a climate activist? Sorry? What? Yeah, it's a fire, yes. But what's the thing in the front of the picture? Fire repellent? No, not quite. Snow cannon, exactly, yeah. So I've been skiing since I was less than 2 years old. It's my biggest passion, my favorite hobby. And that's the reason why I became a climate activist, because I could see climate change or the climate crisis affecting something that's a big part of my life. And this picture has a lot of symbolism because it's a snow-making machine or a snow cannon putting out a wildfire. So my beloved hobby is I'm not able to practice it anymore without artificial snow, basically. There's not enough snow in this world anymore that I can go skiing like I used to, perhaps when I was 2 years old. But the climate crisis has reached a point that we need to use these machines to set out wildfires as well. This is from Western US from a few years back when they had big wildfires, big forest fires in the proximity of different ski resorts, and they had to use these snowmaking machines in order to put out the wildfires. So that's why I became an activist. Maybe the most it's probably a pretty hedonist reason to become a climate activist, but I think we all need to have some connection, and we need to find something that we want to protect in order to become active. Are the planetary boundaries something that people here are familiar with? It's a framework created by Johan Rockström and a team of scientists in order to indicate a set of boundaries that humanity should not cross if we want to live good lives on this planet. They have identified nowadays that there are 9 of these boundaries: climate change, biodiversity, ocean acidification, etc. And out of these 9 boundaries, 7 have been crossed, according to these scientists. The 7th one that we crossed was actually the ocean acidification. And it's a pretty bad situation, I would have to say. I think this is the most sort of comprehensive framework to show how the wider ecological crisis is advancing. Well, if the planetary boundaries are not familiar, have you heard of what is AMOC? The Finns probably have, because this will affect us here in Finland. and other people from Northern Europe as well, especially. So AMOC is a system of ocean currents in the Atlantic that keeps our climate relatively, I would say, mild. Perhaps people who have visited Finland in the winter wouldn't say it's mild, but it could be much worse. But if this ocean circulation system shuts down, we'll be facing much, much, much colder temperatures. At worst in Helsinki, in the wintertime, it can be around minus 15 degrees. It could reach minus 40 if the AMOC shuts down. On average, our winter temperatures would be about 10 to 15 degrees colder than they are at the moment. Summer temperatures would be about 5 degrees colder. You can imagine what this would mean for our societies. Now, this is a picture I took from a presentation last fall in Helsinki by Stefan Ramsdorff. He's one of the most famous AMOC researchers in the world, and he's done a meta-analysis of how probable the shutdown of this ocean circulation system would be. So even with, I would say, reasonable climate action, the percentage is pretty high. Would you hop on a bus if there's a 25% chance that the brakes won't work? I don't think you would. But when it comes to climate, this is exactly what we're doing. We're taking these huge risks that could mean pretty big changes all over the world. But so what do we do if 7 out of these 9 boundaries are crossed? What's our solution? Let me ask you what you would do if your job was to keep this park clean. What would be the first thing you do? Clean it, yeah, exactly. Take away the trash, store it somewhere. But what if you took the approach that most sustainability standards or practices take? What would happen then? You would set a goal of reducing throwing trash into that park by 5% next year. Maybe if you're really ambitious, you would try to get to 10% less trash, throwing new trash into the park the year after. If you're really, really ambitious and aligned with science, you set a net zero goal of no more throwing trash into this park by 2050. But obviously that won't clean up the park, will it? It will add to the problem, but it will not solve it. I have probably the world's most climate nerdy tattoo, which is the number 337 over here. Does anyone know what that means? It has to do with the year I was born. And I can reveal I'm almost 50, so 1979. It's the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere when I was born, parts per million, 337. It doesn't say anything to anyone, probably, unless I tell you that we're at about 428 today. Still doesn't say much except that it's grown a lot. But what if I were to tell you that the safe level would have been 350? And we surpassed that in 1987. And ever since we're still adding more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it's the same with this park. We haven't stopped throwing trash in the park. We're even throwing more trash than we have. Or at most, what we're trying to do is reduce the amount of trash we're throwing there in the future. So traditional sustainability is no longer the solution we're looking for when 7 of the 9 planetary boundaries have been crossed, where we've gone above safe levels of CO2 in the atmosphere back in the 1980s. At best, sustainability tries to achieve some kind of balance between the harm that we cause and the positive impacts that we're trying to reach. But that's no longer enough. Imagine the planetary boundaries as some kind of circle around you, and you've crossed them. What should you do? You should probably want to turn and go back within those boundaries so you can find a safe place. But our solution is to continue moving away from those boundaries, but perhaps at a slower pace. We're not even considering the fact that we should stop and try to find our way back. To illustrate how traditional sustainability thinking is not enough, I took some sustainability jargon and turned it into language that would perhaps be suited as kind of personal development language. And here are a few examples of what that could look like. This shows the absurdity of traditional sustainability faced with the crisis we have. I have more of these examples. If you just, put some climate words there or biodiversity, it could be from a company sustainability report or something. Oh, sorry. Am I in the way? So, I think you get the point. So, what we're trying to do with sustainability basically is try to be less bad. But that's not going to change the world, right? If we try to reduce emissions by 15%, yeah, that's perhaps being less bad than we were before, but that's not being good. That's not net positive. So I think what companies need to realize is that when they choose these traditional sustainability paradigms, what they're actually choosing is to kind of stay passive, follow the norm, and not really challenge those norms of like being less bad. And instead, I think we need to encourage them to be active in changing the world. Now, I used to be a lobbyist for different NGOs, climate NGOs, development NGOs. And I was absolutely convinced that when I go to parliament or meet with politicians, ministers, I present them with the facts. They're going to implement policies that will change the world to the better. But I was so wrong. I realized that politicians are since I've realized that politicians are just normal people. They're not going to change unless they see society around them change. Obviously, we need structural change in order to tackle the big problems we have, like the climate crisis or the biodiversity crisis. But these new structures for society, they won't just fall out of the sky. And politicians, unfortunately, they're not the ones who are going to implement that change. We need to show them that we're ready to change and thus lower the threshold for them to actually start implementing those policies that will then change broader society. I don't know if you've seen this meme before. I think this is really somehow shows how people want that change, but they're not perhaps ready to stand up for that change. But I found a follow-up to this where it's even worse. And when it comes to who needs to lead the change, I actually believe that companies are really important here. Unfortunately, that leadership is lacking in the realm of politics right now. Civil society can play a very important role, but without the support of business, I think, we won't start achieving the change we need. So this is why I think staying passive is no longer an option. And when it comes to your ideas, your pitches, well, perhaps I won't say too much about the pitches because I'm still on the jury. But when it comes to your ideas and how you elaborate them further, I really hope that you start thinking about, what is the net impact of them? Is it directing the world to within the planetary boundaries? Or is it helping, or just perhaps, even at its best, perhaps slowing the pace down a bit by which we're going away from those boundaries? Is it helping us to change the direction, or is it being less bad? And I hope, even though it's been a very short talk, this will inspire you to think about not just trying to be less bad, but perhaps thinking about how you can do more good, create more positive change, and help us bring humanity back into those planetary boundaries. As an inspirational quote, I want to share something from Jane Goodall. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, She's a very famous anthropologist. And I think this is really, I love what she says here, because I think, you know, the idea of staying passive is somehow, or there's this thought behind it that, okay, I can't change the world. But we're all changing the world. It's just up to us to change, to decide in what direction it's going to change. We all make an impact on this world, but we can decide in which direction we want to go. And I truly hope that this inspires you to become more an activist, even if you don't need to go lie down across on the street to block traffic. But through your companies, think about the net impact you can have, not just being less bad. Thank you very much. Do we have?
I can take that from you if that would be easier. Thank you so much. And I can, yeah, I'll just take everything from you. Thank you so much, Niklas, for that inspiring message. I promise I'll be less bad starting from here on out. But also, what an incredible and inspiring message for us to now kick off with the second half of the student pitches. So again, we have 5 teams that will be going, and then we will then move into the deliberation phase. So please welcome to the stage the London Business School.
Hi, everyone. Let me bring you into the journey of Latent Loop with us, right? I was on a call one day talking to one of my friends, and he told me about a project that he was working on. One of the UK councils had reached out to them, and they had a problem. Their hot water energy demand was out of control. Their residents, thousands of them, were struggling with the rising energy costs, and these old, unupdated buildings were releasing tons of emissions, and they needed help. Now, my friend's research addressed this problem perfectly, and he was telling me about it, and I realized it's not really a UK problem, but it's a global problem. So we started working with a private building operator to address this exact issue, and they're waiting for us to solve it for them. So let's get into it. Building operators have a problem right now. Number one, 60% of the UK buildings right now are at risk of failing the energy efficiency standards they need to meet in the next 3 years, which means their buildings can't be rented out, and they face fines of up to £150,000 per year. Hot water monitoring and reporting is becoming mandatory in the UK and the EU, and the worst performing energy efficient buildings are required to retrofit mandatorily. What these operators don't know is that they have a leak. Every time you take a hot shower, the water gets heated up, it's used for a few seconds, and it goes down the drain, and that cycle just continues on and on. Now, what if I could tell you that your morning shower could be used to heat your evening laundry? That's where Latent Loop comes in. We can solve this problem in just 2 days. Our solution captures hot wastewater as it goes through, using a phase change material which melts quickly, stores the heat for up to 8 hours, and slowly as it solidifies, releases that heat to heat cold incoming mains water. It's easy to retrofit. It takes only 1 or 2 days, no structural changes. The residents don't need to change their behavior. Fully passive, no electricity, no pumps to maintain, and it's built to last for up to 20 years. We're working with ACES, which is a private building operator that owns and manages nearly 7,000 affordable housing options in the UK. So we modeled Latent Loop in one of their 300-bed student accommodations. And what we found is Latent Loop could reduce their hot water energy demand by 26 to 36%, leading to thousands of euros of savings and tons of avoidable carbon emissions. Now, we propose an innovative energy-as-a-service business model. For high-use sites, the upfront cost is lower, but they pay a 25% verifiable carbon savings fee every month over the course of their contract, which means in 2 to 8 years that they recover their upfront investment, and after that, it's just net positive. So we're looking at a $1 billion global market, but just in the UK in the first 3 years, that's €1 million market we can achieve. Now, every time you're reheating water, just imagine this old, creaky boiler coming to life. That's the reality. So our solution isn't just monetary savings, but we're addressing 4 key sustainable developmental goals. Number 1, we're reducing energy demand and fossil fuel use. Number 2, we are delivering IoT-verified carbon savings through our IoT sensors. We are retrofitting to make existing buildings more sustainable instead of requiring structural change. And we're recovering and reusing this wasted heat instead of letting it go down the drain. Student accommodation is just a starting point, but this applies to any communal building with a shared hot water system. So that's hotels, gyms, spas, anything you can think of. We have an incredible team to deliver on this proposition. We have the technical expertise in chemical and electrical engineering, specifically in wastewater heat recovery, and the commercial expertise with experience delivering multi-million-dollar energy contracts, leading global commercialization strategies, and founder experience in social impact and investing. We also have advisory experience in materials engineering and building engineering. We have the team, but we need your help to make it happen. We're seeking 15,000 euros to deliver a working prototype with lab-validated performance data, which can then allow us to install our first 2 units at ACES Group locations and make it happen. The future of wastewater heat recovery is here. We just need your help to make sure that we don't deprive households of a basic need for hot water. Thank you very much. I'll invite my technical expert up as well. And we look forward to your questions.
Hey, thank you so much. Seems like an important problem to solve overall. Can you tell a little bit more about how and where and who would produce your units? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, great question. So maybe I'll go back. This is just... Okay, this is just a simple prototype, but it's something that we can actually engineer in a lab using simple machining tools. It needs only a few kgs of this material, so it's something that if you're relatively strong, you could pick up. It's easy to retrofit in existing systems, so it doesn't need you to change a lot. In terms of where the material's coming from, we've already spoken to sourcing in Germany. So we have a supplier, they've given us invoices and quotes, which was the basis for our costing and our business model as well. So we have the contractors and we have the support from University of Nottingham, which have given us the lab access we need to build our first unit.
Thanks for a great picture, a natural picture. So I think also a great solution and addressing a real problem. Maybe a little bit about the payback period. So I think it was 3 to 8 years, 4 to 8 years. So what's the variation there? Does it depend on the energy usage? And why not then focus mostly on the 3 years part and 4 years customers?
Absolutely. So yes, you're absolutely correct. It is based on energy usage, which is why you may have noticed I didn't even mention low use sites. I think this is a high upfront investment. It doesn't make sense for a single home, but for a communal building from mid to high energy, that's where this solution actually makes a lot of sense. In terms of energy usage, I think how much you use will determine how much you actually save in terms of carbon savings and cost savings. So the 300-bed student accommodation is a high use unit, so that would save a ton. But then if you look at a smaller building with just 25 to 30 units, which is pretty standard in Europe, that would probably mean they take longer to recover their upfront cost. So the usage is the reason. Okay, I think we answered many questions then. If nothing else, then...
No, I have one more question. I always have some up my sleeve. Can you tell a little bit more about your IP strategy? It's a fancy word, but I'm sure you've thought about it.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me that.
Yes.
So you're correct to think, okay, this material, like it already exists. It's already being used in industrial settings, cold chain, supply, logistics for waste recovery. So where's the IP? Well, firstly, there is no application specifically in the residential use case. Our competitors are trying to address a similar problem, but their solutions are either have 2 problems. One, they require simultaneous heat flow. So the minute you take your shower, you need to use that heat to do your laundry. That's not happening. I'm not that productive. And I think the second problem is they all focus on very industrial use cases, like industrial laundry. So set up 1 unit per washing machine. And that, again, cannot generalize to a domestic use. So the market hasn't caught up to this quite yet. inherently, building engineering is a very sticky industry. Being the first mover, already having the first few partnerships and the research means that once we're installed, the cost of installation is not that high. It saves them money, it makes sense. But changing that provider, once you're in the government contracts, changing it, that's a lot of work, and building operators don't feel like they need to do that. So we're going to focus on the inherent stickiness. We have a lab-validated design from the University of Nottingham that isn't that easy to replicate, even though the material may exist. And we'll focus on building a regional installer network right away. As you may know, the manufacturers that do the installations, they're very, very, very prone to not want to change what they've already learned. So that's how we focus on it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you to London Business School, and welcome Kiev School of Economics.
Did you know that even now the energy is being generated straight on your balcony, just out of thin air, but we lack of device to capture it? Moreover, that energy could become a lifeline when centralized grid is down, how it happened in Berlin this January. Meet Anna. She's a conscious urban citizen and a part of generation who needs to stay connected 24/7. Like any other European, she consumes about 1 kilowatt of electricity a day to charge her laptop and phone. However, when grid fails, Anna instantly loses her digital access. For those like Anna, we are building WIM, urban, balcony-ready wind turbine for decentralized energy generation. So, how do you use us? First, you order and unbox, then assemble modular parts, connect it in your balcony or rooftop, and install and connect to energy storage. At first, we'll concentrate on Nordic cities because of high wind speeds, and this country leads global sustainability rankings based on SDG performance, and then windy cities worldwide, where we are targeted over 100 billion market. Our business model is sales to B2C, B2B, and B2G, where the price is 500 euros and the markup is 100%. As for our GTM strategy, firstly, we plan to enter through Cleantech Scandinavia cluster for institutional credibility, then partner with sustainable developers and architects to embed WIM straight into urban infrastructure, and of course we will use social media to educate our potential customers how easy and interesting renewable technologies can be. As our direct competitors, we have producers of rooftop solar and wind system. They require building ownership and expensive installation specialists. As indirect fuel generators, but they are loud and toxic. So, we are better, because WIM is apartment-fit power plant following the IKEA-style approach, which means installation in hours by your own, zero bureaucracy and hidden costs, and 100 mobility. One WIM turbine keeps laptop running for 5 hours and saves 35 kg CO2 per year. Now scale it to the just city of Espoo, and we are whipping out 5,000 tons of emissions and 10,000 megawatts of electricity. We make sustainability affordable and give energy equality to everyone. This is our final 3D printed prototype. We have tested blades, geometries, and aerodynamics in real city conditions to find the most efficient profile. And for now, our progress is supported by Swedish producer of solar thermal collectors Absolicon and the Green Transition Office in Ukraine. During 2026, we are planning to finalize our MVP focusing on urban safety requirements, and then by early 2027, we will launch our first pilot installation in urban areas. To reach these milestones, we need support. 60% of our focus is on R&D and hiring new talents, 25% goes on certification and pilot preparation, where 15% is on partnerships and visibility. We are a female-operated team. We have expertise in electrical engineering, business analysis, and finance. Our mentor guides us through certification and market positioning in Europe. Also, we are empowered by our life experience in Ukraine with blackouts, where we tested balcony setups to ensure when the grid goes down, people never lose their connections. And for those in the room who live in Scandinavia, please, we need your help to bring women to our market. Scan QR and take part in our second research round, because your feedback is what will help us to perfect WIM for European homes. Together, we can bring true energy resilience to every balcony and keep our homes powered and connected.
Thank you very much. Very energetic pitch. You mentioned that the Nordics were your target market. So a few things about the Nordics. We don't really have a grid, like we don't have blackouts that much or problems with the grid. So why would this solution be relevant? And the second is that I would say 95% of electricity production, for example, in Finland is already fossil free. So that sort of that angle also loses a bit relevance here in the Nordics.
So first of all, WIM is not a solution only for blackouts. It's just alternative solution for renewable energy generation, which everybody can install on their balcony. So it's like additional source of energy, and with which you can charge your phone or laptop or any other small device. So it's like everybody can use it in daily life. So, and why Nordics? Have this slide, 1 second. So we are dependent on wind. So the wind here is great. Also, the average income is high because we understand that the price can be a little bit higher for the another regions. And also, society understands the importance of sustainability SDG. So, Nordic is our perfect market fit.
I will have to, or I'll start by saying that a great pitch, but I'll have to continue challenging you on the perfect market, because I think also the energy inequality and staying connected is maybe not a problem, which you started as your problem statement in the Nordics. I would think about other markets. I know that wind is very important, but for example, Algeria or Cape Town, when they actually have like energy outages. So I would continue looking at where is this actually a problem, and where is your solution kind of being needed, and then looking for the willingness to pay, because I think the Nordics might not be the correct market to start with. I might be wrong. I'm just challenging you.
Okay, that's why we are conducting the next research round, to understand if like Nordics will be like our market, because now it's an assumption, of course. But please scan the QR. And where is it? Okay, yeah, hopefully you scanned.
Great. I love your approach on having a tangible model already, and having sort of enabling people to take charge of their own energy creation. You are unlucky to have 3 Finnish judges to challenge you on the Nordics approach. Look elsewhere, we don't have this problem kind of approach. Sorry about that. But it's a great, take it as an opportunity.
Yes.
We are happy to open this up. Last question on the production of these and the IP. Can you say a few words about the intellectual property when it comes to this and the design and that? What's your moat?
So yeah, intellectual property, we own it because we modulated in the Blender. So software was for modeling, and we have files. So we will have each files, and when we partner with developers or distributors, we'll have a contract in which will be clearly stated that it's our intellectual property and the files should be only ours.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And up next, we have Aalto University. You can try this.
Without clear coordination, disaster response becomes expensive guesswork. 20 typhoons hit the Philippines yearly, and over 8 million people are affected per typhoon. Last year, $1.8 million was lost because people and recipients received duplicated aid, and some were left with nothing. We know this because we spoke to Paul, a coordinator at the Red Cross. He stated that oftenly, multiple teams respond to one area while others remain underserved because no one knows who's doing what and where. When a typhoon hits, Paul receives request relief from WhatsApp, Excel, Gmail, Viber, you name it. And he has to manually process this before he can deploy any resources. Pressure is intense and critical decisions are being made on scattered information. But what if there was a solution? The answer? Nexus, an AI-powered coordination platform that helps response teams identify needs and allocate resources efficiently. It maps out who is doing what and where. For example, here Paul can see that there's a possibility that flood relief in Markkina will need more assistance. Nexus doesn't just end there. It also suggests other areas that Paul would have never thought about to deploy teams there. It compares a number of affected people and available resources and predicts how long those resources will take. For example, here it highlights that water is running out. Paul can easily submit a request from a nearby NGO. Instead of waiting for hours or days, he can get the support immediately. As disasters become more frequent, coordination is critical. And that is the impact Nexus is designed to deliver. Currently, project management tools are being used, but our real competition is WhatsApp, Google Sheets, and pen and paper. Nexus is built simply that organizations can start using it within a few hours. And it also works offline. Field responders can report and their data syncs when internet comes back. We start with an annual subscription of 9,000 to small NGOs in the Philippines per year. With 15,000, we can build and pilot with the Red Cross Philippines. In 6 months, measure real impact. And in a year, 100 units of Red Cross or Nexus can potentially save up to 2 million in salary cost. We care because we've lost our homes, our families due to natural disasters. Worked in frontline healthcare where we have seen that one mistake can cost lives. We might not be able to stop natural disasters, but we can help make coordination better and make Paul make faster decisions. Thank you.
Thank you for a great pitch. I don't know a lot about what kind of tools they're using. So maybe on the project management tool, so why haven't they started using them? Why are they still using WhatsApp and yeah, pen and paper?
Yeah, so currently they're using multiple different streams, and some have signed up for project management tools, but often from what we found in the interviews is that the training and the onboarding takes too long and it's too complicated to set up. So with Nexus, our plan is to make the platform as simple as possible to download and use within like 90 minutes.
All right, I'll ask another question if that's all right. Yeah, so I guess in order to optimize it in the best way, you have to integrate to all the data from the paper and the WhatsApp and etc. So how will you make it easy to start using, but also being able to integrate all the data that you require?
Yes, our reporting tool works offline, so that when it syncs to the Wi-Fi, it will just transmit the data automatically. So Nexus would be able to translate these data into like actionable tasks. So it calculates immediately like how much resources they need, how many people they need to send to, and also like how much resources would last.
Quick addition, the field responders have an app, and then the platform that we showed you is for the coordinators.
Yeah, that would have been my question. How do they input the data into the system? But let's say they are these field responders and they're under a lot of pressure there. Do they have time to start, uploading something, or like how do they do it quickly and easily, so that it also translates into like tangible data for the recipients?
The field responders usually do risk assessments before disaster, during a disaster, and after disaster. So they have like already a templated form that they fill up.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a super important topic. It's great that you're working on it. You mentioned the customer discussions or here in one of the responses. Can you tell a little bit more about what you have seen as the biggest issues and what you see as an upcoming issue for you in order to scale the solution? What are the things that are most difficult for you at this point?
The most difficult issue would be currently they are using the project management tools, while we are more specifically trying to specific working on disaster management, while also as the climate change increase, there will be more frequent of those disasters happened, and to get more customers to really join this network to use it and create this feedback in loop.
Also to add, we are currently in talks with Red Cross, and they're willing to co-design our platform with them so that we'll be able to meet their needs, the business requirements, including their stakeholders. So we want to make our platform very easy to use for this kind of events, for crisis events, so that it's more user-centered as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kiitos, Aalto. Next up, Erasmus University Rotterdam. Yeah. Do you need a third mic?
Is this on? Hello?
It's on now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Menno. I'm here with Thomas and Pepijn, and we're Team Deposit. And we have a question for you. How many of you have ever ordered something online? Raise your hand. All right. And how many of you have ever had trouble receiving that package? Raise your hand. Okay, well, that's exactly what we're talking about. You see, online shopping is easier than ever, but actually getting your package is getting more and more difficult. And I'm talking about problems like packages just being left in front of your front door, making them vulnerable for damage or theft, very broad delivery indications, or something Pepijn did yesterday. His package went straight to a package point, while it was meant to go straight to his home. Things like that. And of course, this is annoying for the consumer, but there are also rising costs for the logistic company. But the worst consequence is, of course, for the environment. You see, with 20.3 billion packages being delivered every year in Europe, and 40 billion kilometers being driven, and with the first delivery failure percentage of 11.75%, 4.7 billion kilometers are wasted. And since we want to contribute to a sustainable environment and to responsible production and consumption, we want to make this number as low as possible. And because staying passive is not an option, we're taking a look at the current solutions in the market. You see, package boxes are quite expensive. That's the first reason why these don't fit. And the second thing is, the bigger ones, they don't fit in the city where the problem is the highest. And third, you still need to mount these to your wall. So we wanted to find a solution that bypasses all of these problems.
And we have Meet Deposit, the convenient parcel bag for your front door. How does it work? Well, it works very easy. The delivery driver puts the package in the package in the deposit bag and closes the locking mechanism, after which only the consumer can take out the package with their own personal code. Also keep in mind that there is still room for letters and letterbox format packages while the deposit bag is attached to your front door. Well, how do you attach it? I may hear you ask. It is attached with 2 universal clamps, making it that you only have to attach it when you are actually expecting delivery, and therefore very flexible.
So now let's take a quick look at our market. So for our total addressable market, we're looking at Europe because of how common the previously mentioned issues are in this region. For our serviceable addressable market, we chose the Netherlands specifically because the majority of Dutch consumers actually prefers home delivery above out-of-home delivery systems. And lastly, for our serviceable obtainable market, we chose to be a little conservative, estimating that we would be able to take about 1% of the Dutch market in our first 3 years of operating, which leaves us with 44,000 potential customers, and with our estimated price being 99 euros per bag, about 4.36 million in revenue. And we're fully committed to reaching this number. We've actually already registered our ID with the Dutch or the Benelux Office of Intellectual Property. This is our first step towards actually patenting our ID. And we've also spent a lot of time talking to our potential customers, using their feedback to further improve our design, but also our key message. And this has led to more than 100 people who are willing to participate in our upcoming pilot later this year. And on top of this, we've also spent a lot of time talking with delivery drivers, 14 in fact. Actually, shout out to Nick, who's watching us live, who've helped us also make sure that our product provides value for the people who are delivering our packages. These people believe in us and they believe in our solution. So for them, we want to make this a success. So invest in carefree delivery, invest in team deposit.
Dankjewel. Very nice presentation. So maybe, yeah, I'm interested to know, how are you gonna produce it? Do you have an external partner that you're gonna start developing it with?
Yeah, so we're currently in talks with sourcing experts because we want to produce in China, because also China has a very big infrastructure for recycling, specifically materials we need, like aluminium and then polyethylene. So that's where we want to start. Also for the price, of course, because we want to make it affordable, so more people are able to afford it.
And how are you planning to reach the clients? Because I guess it's one thing also that do they want to pay for the problem that they're basically already paying for the delivery, let's say X amount of euros, but then they also have to pay for the security. How do you see that issue?
Well, we think it adds a lot of value for the customer. I mean, first of all, it's very flexible. And what we saw in our survey, especially in the Netherlands, is that 75% of the people still prefer door-to-door and home delivery. So the other options, going to a package point, it's not enough for them, especially when you need packages immediately or the day after. So we add a lot of value for them. And besides that, to boost our go-to-market strategy, we add a lot of value for the suppliers as well, or the logistic companies. I mean, we're reducing a lot of unnecessary movements. So with this potential partnership, we think we can market it enough to be sustainable and to make enough revenue.
On top of that, we also have talks with a CEO of a marketing agency, which we are going to meet up with this month. And look what we can do with him.
Yeah, my question would have been exactly the same. It's not the person who orders the stuff online. It's not their fault that the package doesn't find. So they pay for the solution that they have, or for the problem to the solution that they have not caused. But follow-up question is: so only houses, right? What about apartment buildings and so?
Yeah, we love to segment into those, but especially in the Netherlands, this would not really be an option as of now, because you have those letterboxes all under each other. So if you would hang this up, you would block the other one. So right now, the only solution we would think of is to expand into the package boxes themselves and put them into the entries of apartments. That's definitely an option for in the future, but as for now, as our current market is enough to start with, we think freestanding houses and row houses are enough to start with, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wilson took all of our question. I was going to ask about your marketing strategy, but you already mentioned that that's coming up later, or your channel strategy on go-to-market. That's it from my side. You already answered that.
Yeah, maybe
you can extend if you want.
Yeah, well, there's one advantage that we have, and that we're very visible at the front door. So, of course, we're going to make this very visible with our logo on top of it, and we think, yeah, combined with the marketing and the partnerships, yeah, this is going to work.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And then up next we have the, yep, you're already ready to go, the Palimi Graduate School of Management.
Sorry, guys, I'm the last one. Please don't fall asleep. Okay, guys. With Nidara, I'm Felipe. Nice to meet you guys. We have some collaboration that we can achieve here. And we're trying to work with a paradox. We are now living in Europe, where we have 6 out of 10 students that struggle to afford and find housing, while we have 1 out of 3 students that actually have to abandon studies because of social economic issues. If you are not one of them, you are the lucky ones. Then we have a weird data about Europe. We have more than 20 million homes that are totally abandoned and unoccupied, not for rent, neither for sale, all across Europe, especially these countries. And then another weird phenomenon. We see short-term rental that keeps growing, while economic margin keeps going down. Considering all these factors, I think we all agree we need a new model, correct? And with Nidara, we think that this new model should leverage on the asset we already have. The real estate asset, the human capital, the students, and of course, the tourist industry. So what are we doing, guys, with Nidara? We are working with the large unoccupied apartment. We rent those apartments, design them, and transform them into bed and breakfast. Simple, correct? Then we give 1 room to a student who also has a job to be the host of the house and rent out the other remaining rooms to tourists and transitionary workers. In this way, we use the cash flow coming from the short rental activity to subsidize the student room, to give the student a salary, and of course, a return to investors. So, guys, to do this, we don't need a good operating model. We need a great operating model. Why? We need to scout all the large apartments that are unoccupied. But especially, we need to negotiate terms and conditions with property owners. Then, we have another thing to do. We have to design and fit out all the apartments that need to be hybrid because students and tourists, they have different needs, of course, no? But what is more important to us, guys, is that we need students that need to become hosts. They need to be selected, they need to be trained, and they need to be monitored and supported on a day-to-day basis. So regarding some numbers, this is just Italy, guys. There are more than 9.6 million homes totally empty. In the fast-growing cities, we have more than 64,000 large apartments unoccupied. Backend, we're aiming at an implementation plan of 170 transformation in the next 6 years. And we have started. We have started in Bari, which is a fast-growing city in the south of Italy. Beautiful city. We are doing our first fit-out and raising capital to do the second one. This means 8 rooms, guys. So, second phase, we do the Italian expansion. Where we are going to the underdog cities. Why this city? Why Torino? Why Napoli? Why Brescia, Palermo, and Genova? Because those cities, they welcome tourists. They have thousands of vacant apartments, and they have a price per square meter that is below average. No? So the business model can work. Then we try to replicate this model to the countries that are suffering the phenomenon more. We saw Germany, we saw France, Spain, Portugal. All these countries have the same problem, guys. Regarding the team, Oronzo is there. So guys, we are professionals for all the world. We have experience in real estate, short-term rental, hospitality, and construction. But what I think is most important, you say it before, we are a group of crazy guys that are acting, that we really believe we can create a new model where financial institutions and investors, property owners and cities, and university and students actually work together and then can grow together. Thank you for your time and attention. I need my civil engineer. Aranza, come.
Perfect. What an energetic pitch.
Yeah, I'm Bolivian.
No, I feel funny asking, like, what does your cost structure look like?
Yeah, the cost structure. Going into the numbers, yeah. I have an annex that is bigger than the presentation. So let's go to the numbers. Sorry, these are the cities. There's the core model. Units. We need to choose where to work. Where is the market? We're working on the 120 square meter apartments. So we're aiming at 80, 120 transformation, 80, 120K euros of transformation. That means we can create an apartment of, if we take an 100 to 120 square meter, we can transform them into 4 to 5 rooms. The transformation is arranged between 80Ks and 100Ks. The payback period, this comes for actually the validation we're doing in Bari with 2 apartments at the moment. The payback period is 36 months, and the debt service recovery ratio is between 1.7 and 2.7. The cost structure, how it works, we rent the apartments for 12 years. We do the transformation. We negotiate a 3-year contract because we need that to do the setup, you know? And then after that, we split in 2 ways. Part of the economic value is going to the student as a job, and the remaining is going all to the company and the investors.
I'm gonna double down on that one a bit, but yeah, great pitch and great vision. But yeah, trying to understand kind of the position of the investor. So, did you say you were renting for 12 years? Or?
Yeah.
All right. So from the apartment owners, it's a good deal. Someone is gonna rent it for 12 years and flip it and renovate it. So
it is.
But how do you get that to the investor? How do they see the value from flipping someone else's apartment and basically their cash flow will be only the rent?
That's correct. We do it, of course, with the EBITDA margin, but how we do it? 4 and 5 rooms that are renting through short-term rental can create an out margin to pay for a salary to the student. But why this economic model is working? Because the personnel of a short-term rental company is a fixed cost. Now what we're doing is transforming that fixed cost into a variable cost because the student is paid per checkout and is doing all the recurring activities. He's cleaning the apartment, he's doing the check-in, the communication. In this way, we transform the fixed cost in a variable cost. All the remaining cash should go, of course, to the company operations, and all the delta go to investor. We are not raising equity, we are raising debt. And we are giving back the debt in a 4-year period with an internal rate of return of 28.5, an internal rate of discount of 9.85%. That means 29% in 4 years. So we are actually, the first transformation we're doing, we raise money between some colleagues of the MBA. We are doing the same now. We have signed those papers, so we have now the obligation to give back the debt. But on the worst case scenario, we can achieve that.
Quick question, 17 seconds to go. There's a lot of movement, like anti-short-term rental movement across Europe, anti-tourism movement is going stronger. How are you tackling this? Your business model might be banned in many cities across Europe in the
That's
future.
correct. For example, if you are in Italy, it will happen here. If you are in Spain, it will happen in Barcelona. If you are in the Netherlands, it will happen in Amsterdam. But won't happen in those cities. Those are underdog cities that are growing, that are creating a new law to welcome tourists and transitionary workers. So there is a reason we are choosing this city and not the usual Milano, Venezia, and the same is For Spain, Valencia, Malaga, Las Palmas. The same, we have Lille too, yeah. And the same is for Germany. We are not choosing the usual one. We are choosing the underdogs.
You actually mind putting it down?
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you, Polly. And thank you to all the other pitchers for today.
Let's give a round of applause.
Yes, let's do that. So it's been an intensive afternoon. And now the jury, please follow Apurva to go and make the very hard decisions of which teams make it to the top 3. So these 3 teams, when the jury has come back, will have to give their pitches again. And maybe you will deliver even better pitch and adapt it based on the feedback that you have gotten during the Q&A, if you so wish.
Yep, and while the jury is going up and they're deliberating, we will now begin the peer vote for the most innovative award. So to keep voting fair, the vote is only open to the people who are physically here with us in this room. And we are very appreciative to all the friends and families and other folks that are watching the live stream online, but we will be keeping it just to these individuals here in the room with us. So the way that this will go, we're using good old-fashioned pen and paper. So we have organizers here that will be passing out the paper and a pen. Go ahead, fill your vote. You can only vote once. When you're done, you can either hold it up or there's maybe a fancy bowl somewhere that we can pop it right in. Maybe a combination of both. So take your time, think about it. Feel free to cast your vote, and then we will all come back with the results in a few minutes. We just vote for one? Yes, just one vote for one team. Yes.
Yeah, one team vote, one
yes.
audience.
Would it be okay if we could pop back to the slide that shows the criteria for the different... it's basically the most innovative and most radical idea that really stood out to everyone. That is what we consider as the most innovative award.
I love the energy in the room. Like everyone's so waiting. So the jury has now made the hard decision of which 3 teams get to do the pitches again. And this time the jury will have maybe more in-depth questions and be a bit more challenging during the Q&A. So in a randomized order, the top 3 teams are Universität Wien with Reeboks, London Business School with Leighton Tube, and UCD Michael Smurfit Business School with Arono.
So just a reminder, the format will be the same. It's a 4-minute pitch. We will stop you at 4:30 and then Q&A shortly after, also 4 minutes. And if it goes to 4:30, we'll also have to cut you off politely. But with that said, congratulations to the top 3 teams. And now without further ado, please welcome to the stage our first team.
Universität Wien.
Okay, hello again. I didn't quite expect this, so I need... Okay. Hello, everyone. For the ones who came late, my name is Antonia, and I'm here to present Reeboks. I want you to think about the tent you only rent for one weekend trip, or the outdoor gear that you need for one crazy adventure. You don't buy those products, you rent them. You use them for a couple days, send them back to the company, and they refurbish them and send it out again to the next company. The products are reused, but their packaging is not. On the left, you can see a product moving from customer to customer. Return cycles. It's a system built for reuse. On the right side, we see packaging for disposal. Each shipment requires a new box. This mismatch creates unnecessary waste, cost, and friction, especially for rental businesses. A while ago, this was not a big problem. Products were sold once, shipped once, the systems matched. But now that is changing. The European rental market is growing. Especially the European equipment rental market is having an annual turnover of around 33.5 billion euros annually. And the regulations are shifting. Here you can see the European packaging regulation. It came out in 2025 in August, and you can see a huge trend toward reusable systems in whole Europe, which we are really happy about. A system which is built for reuse is Rebox, what I'm presenting today. We are trying to make everything as easy for the rental companies as possible. They don't need an operational change. They don't need a completely new way to ship their product and logistics. We have no operational changes integrated in our system. Especially, it's perfectly integrated into existing logistics systems, like this cardboard you know today. It's exactly the same, just reusable. We have a foldable design for efficient shipping and a residue-free label area that makes it easier for companies to take the label off. No extra work needed, no cleaning needed. That's how we identify impact. One Rebox can replace up to 70 disposable boxes. Compared to cardboard, we can see less water consumption by the factor of 11, CO2 emissions are being reduced by 3, and significantly less waste. Imagine you using one Rebox and this whole stack, here it is, you can see here, is not going to be in the landfills of tomorrow. For 4 years, a box a month, our customers can subscribe to our packaging service, which is tailored for their needs. Especially in rental companies or rental businesses, demand changes, products changes in the winter and in the summer, depending on the season, the box sizes changes, so we are trying to adapt to this. Included in our service is the repair and replacement of each Rebox and an impact dashboard for each single company. Right now, we've secured our manufacturing partner, as well as confirmed 2 pilot customers. And in September, we are starting our first pilot of 3 months with 200 boxes. And I believe, or we believe, if products are reused, their packaging should be too. And it's time that the logistics systems are catching up. Thank you so much again. And probably now to the more important part.
Thank you so much. Great pitch, and I love the pictures also, demonstrating the impact that you will have. I would like to ask about managing the stock of boxes that you have, and if you're considering adding a data layer to your business model, or will you use external systems for that?
Can you
basically managing where are all the boxes and how you're renting them out and so forth, and looking at your efficiencies in that?
So each box will have a QR code which tracks the impact. We're not quite sure. This is something we want to plan in our pilot. If it's efficient to scan each box after each shipment, or that's what we're planning right now. We're not 100% sure if it's going to be too much operational change or too much operational work for our customers. And through the QR code in our system, we have each box linked and also the impact of each box.
All right, thank you. I really like that you are taking a sort of circular economy, like trying to improve the circular economy, because we really need to get that business going. But my question is about your impact numbers. You mentioned like they were quite impressive, but for example, in Finland, most cardboard is recycled already. So have you taken this into account in your impact numbers, that in certain markets, the cardboard actually is already a circular economy solution?
Yes, but I kind of took it out of our equation because all the companies that I talked to have been sourcing virgin cardboard for their packaging. Therefore, the change is tremendous. Of course, the cardboard is being recycled and used again for different products, but for the cardboard packaging that my customers are working with, it's virgin, so the calculation is still the same.
Thank you for a great pitch. I'm going to put my VC hat on for a while. So I'd like to kind of understand the opportunity size and also the margin. So you have €4 per box. So what are the margins in that? Have you looked at like how much you would need repair and maintenance? So basically my question is, how did you decide on the price, and how much is, for example, one client, how in terms of like business opportunity?
So one box is €4 per month per box, and we are planning with about 2 cycles for each box. The price came from also the cardboard packaging that our companies are working with right now. From the initial cost, we have around €3,000 initial cost to set up each production line of one box, €8 to €9 for each box. So we have around, it depends on how big we scale it, the initial cost, how we separate it. But if we're planning with around €12 per box as the costs, but for €4 a month, if we have 2 cycles, it's going to be €120 of revenue. Therefore, no, my math is not working, but the margin is quite high. Rental companies are growing rapidly right now. So there are startups popping up everywhere in Germany and Austria. It's the market I'm looking at right now. So I think the market will grow tremendously in the next couple years. Right now, I'm working with medium startups. They have around 3,000 to 4,000 shipments of rentals each year, and they are all planning to grow. So my first pilot customer, Eddie's Adventure, they are actually in a VC round themselves right now and are planning to, if they hopefully, let's hope, get the funding, they will grow even more as we planned. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Amazing. Next up, we have London Business School, Latent Loop. Here you go.
Hello again, everybody. You'll hear the same story again, I'm sorry. But let's introduce you to Latent Loop, right? It all started when I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He's doing his PhD at the University of Nottingham. And it was from a city council in the UK. And they said, they had a problem. Their hot water energy demand was out of control. The thousands of residents in their buildings were struggling with increasing rising energy costs, and the carbon emissions from these old buildings were insane. They needed help, and my friend's research could help them with it. And that's when I realized this is not really a UK problem, it's a global problem. So that's how we started with Latent Loop. And we're working with a leading UK building operator who's waiting for us to come up with a solution for them. So let's get into it. European housing operators are struggling. 60% of UK buildings are at risk of failed energy ratings that they need to meet in the next 3 years. That means their buildings can't be rented, and that's £150,000 of fines that they could face per building. Mandatory hot water metering is already in place in the EU and the UK, and EU buildings need to retrofit their most inefficient buildings. What these operators don't know is that they have an invisible leak. Every time you take your shower, the water heats up, it's used for a few seconds, and it goes straight down the drain. Now, the same thing goes on and on again, but what if I could tell you that your morning shower could be used to heat your laundry in the evening? That's where Latent Loop comes in. Latent Loop is a simple solution. It retrofits into your existing structure, captures hot wastewater as it goes out, stores the heat for up to 8 hours, and uses the same heat to heat incoming cold mains water. The solution takes only 1 or 2 days to retrofit, doesn't require the residents to change their behavior. It's passive, it doesn't have electricity, it doesn't have pumps, and it's built to last for up to 20 years. We're working with ACES, which is a UK building operator who own and manage nearly 7,000 buildings, and we modeled Leighton Loop in one of their 300-bed purpose-built student accommodations. What we found is that with Leighton Loop, they could reduce their hot water energy demand by 26 to 36%, which could mean either thousands of euros of savings or several tons of avoidable carbon emissions. What we propose is an innovative energy-as-a-service business model. For mid to high usage sites, we recommend a lower upfront cost and then 25% of the verifiable carbon savings paid as a fee over the course of their contract, which means that they recover their upfront investment in 3 to 8 years, depending on usage. With this, we estimate a €1 billion opportunity globally, but specifically, we think we can achieve under €1 million in our first 3 years as annual revenue. Imagine that every time you reheat water, this old creaky boiler is coming to life. There is a better way of doing things. We are trying to address 4 sustainable developmental goals. Number 1, reduce energy demand and fossil fuel use, deliver IoT-verified carbon savings, retrofit existing buildings to make them more sustainable, and recover and reuse wasted heat. Student accommodation is just a start, but this generalizes to any building with shared hot water systems, so gyms, hospitals, hotels, you name it. We have an incredible team to deliver on this. We have technical expertise in chemical and electrical engineering, specifically in wastewater heat recovery. We also have expertise delivering multi-million-dollar energy projects, global commercialization projects, and founder experience in ESG and social impact. We also have advisorship in materials engineering and in building construction engineering as well. We have the team, but we need the funding to make this a reality. We are requesting €15,000, which will help us create the first prototype to get lab-validated performance data and perform our first 2 pilot installations at ACES sites, which we have already agreed on. The future of wastewater heat recovery is here, but we just need your help to make sure that no one is denied the basic need of hot water. Thank you so much.
Hey. Thank you so much for the great pitch again. Happy to hear the same story. The first question that I have is related to, if I'm thinking about if I was to make the buying decision of this device, I would like to know the life cycle of it and be sure that it lasts for that long. And then I noticed you had a guarantee there, but how are you planning to do the maintenance and repair? And can you comment on these topics?
Yes. Let's go back. Okay. So in terms of maintenance, we have considered it. It depends on the model that you take. So if you take our direct purchase model, it's a one-time upfront payment. It's like you buying a washing machine, right? You have a short warranty at the start, 3 years included, with IoT sensors, which will detect any faults early. Beyond that, it's on you for the maintenance and repair. We estimate 1 annual maintenance visit, 2 if it's very, very heavy use. That's why for high usage, we recommend a revenue sharing model, so the contract length is longer. And so over the period, we will include this annual maintenance that we recommend, and the contract will be up to 8 years. So that would be the warranty period that we would cover for that.
Thank you for a great pitch again. Compared to the competitors, you already mentioned that you are better, which is good. But looking from the client perspective, so does any of your potential clients already use your competitors? And do you know the adoption rate?
I think that's a great question. So I'll go back to our competitors. Our competitors right now are focusing on individuals. So it's either they're focusing on one person who is willing to put in the shower wastewater unit here. It's either one person who's willing to put the unit in their own shower or on their own washing machine. So there is adoption, but it's only single use, and it requires simultaneous heat use, which is not matched with the actual usage pattern. So that is the one issue. And the second one is we have industrial laundry use cases, but those are far and few in between. So there is actually no competitor that is doing a communal hot water solution. right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really like that you're sort of responding to some regulatory also pressures, and it's a systemic kind of issue that needs to be solved. And clearly the climate and water impact is big. But what about the actual device itself? How have you planned to produce that sustainably, and where do the materials come from?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. There we go. So we have modeled the product life cycle. I think Vignesh can tell you a little bit more.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so we considered all aspects of the life cycle, starting from right from the beginning, the birth to cradle. So we looked at, for example, the manufacturing, the shipping and installing, operation, and end of life. And when we're sourcing the materials, you want to make sure we're sourcing it ethically. So the material we're actually sourcing it from, we're making sure we're obtaining as little carbon dioxide emissions produced. So we're looking at the whole life cycle. And even the shipping and installing and the operation, we calculated the carbon dioxide emissions, which were pretty minimal. And the end of life is also, the material you're using is pretty recyclable. So that also reduces the net carbon dioxide emissions. So, yeah.
That is it. Thank you for the efficient and great answers.
Thank you. Yes, then it's UCD. Here you go. Yes, it's on.
Thank you.
It goes on when you're ready.
Didn't expect that. Thank you so much, judges. Yeah, sorry. So every year in my country during this time, Bangladesh is flooded. And around 1.27 million farmers are getting affected due to this monsoonal flood. It is causing havoc to 83,000 hectares of land becoming useless due to the water, and it's creating about 39 million agricultural loss every season in Bangladesh alone. And around 2050, it is estimated that Bangladesh will be flooded. 30% of its land will be flooded. And so I was thinking that this is not just a problem to Bangladesh alone, because in Southeast Asia, around 3.27 million hectares of land is affected due to recurring flood, whereas in Europe, it's around 1.28 million hectares. So this problem is unique to everyone, and we are here to solve it with our Orno boxes. So Orno boxes are made of recycled plastic, and its dimension is around 0.15 square meter. It can support 35 kg of weight above water, and the key USP of it being it's modular, and also it is catering to multiple farmers at the same time. But the impact is most important, because by covering 50,000 hectares of waterlogged land with these boxes, the income can grow by 1.5x, and it can increase the production by 2%.
Thank you, Nusrat. Thank you, Nusrat. So we begin with a focused 9.4 million market entry in Bangladesh, with clear expansion towards a 234 million opportunity. So fluting cultivation already exists in Bangladesh, but the traditional method depends on organic beds like water hyacinth, so it is seasonal and less durable. Orano keeps people producing year-long, survives the floods, and lasts over a decade. So we sell two ways: to NGOs and governments at scale, and directly to farmers. With NGO support, a farmer pays under €10 for a kit that pays back 1.5 times in the first flood season. For those people earning nothing during those times, it changes everything. So with 56,000, we can reach 300 farmers next year. By year 5, that's 20,000 farmers across Bangladesh. We then expand into Southeast Asia and then into Europe. So to validate the concept, we ran a small pilot in Jessore with 10 boxes. It was well received by all of the farmers, and we hope to continue working with them. We've also built a digital layer that gives the farmers live weather alerts, water level monitoring, as well as crop guidance straight to their phone. So I lead the digital layer with an expertise in tech management, while Nusrat drives our commercial strategy and our business development. We also have 3 advisors, Anna, Lamim, and Fahad, who kind of give us the exact operational and technical expertise to scale this. So we come from different backgrounds, but we share the same belief. Those communities that most at risk to climate risk deserve sustainable infrastructure, not temporary aid. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. It was really, really enjoyable to listen to you. The Global South context can be difficult in many ways, as you're very well aware, I think. Wondering if, how about the ownerships of these platforms? And I'm thinking about security as well. Have you thought about them disappearing overnight? An envious neighboring farmer, perhaps, wants to take them. And another question, 10 euros is still a pretty big investment in many places. If people are living on $1 or $2 a day, and this was the subsidized cost, I think, with support from NGOs. So how do you foresee this upfront cost issue?
Okay, sorry, so many questions. Okay, first one with the stealing thing. Yeah, we thought about that. But the problem is that I don't think they can steal it even there's soil in it, because it's going to be really heavy. I mean, that's not possible. And if they want, they're already stealing from the agricultural land right now. So, I mean, I don't think that's how it works in those areas. But the pricing, starting with each boxes will be around 1.25 euro. So this is just for individual farmers. And the standard kit that we are going with, the 9 euro thing, giving is NGO subsidy, this is for basically those who wants to partner with us. But if I give you a little bit clarification, if you see this picture, this was done by NGO. And this was first done in Bangladesh alone in the world, a floating farming, which was made by hyacinth leaves. And it takes around 4 months it's like around 1 or 2 months to build and then get the result out of it. So the NGOs are very much curious and eager to do something about this problem. And that's why they did this. But they didn't last long, because this is just a one-time thing. So, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, okay, so there was a third question. I'm sorry, I forgot.
I think you answered well, thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very interesting. I'm thinking about the business model still. So you would sell these straight to the farmers and then they would own them. Have you considered other business models, or do they make any sense?
So the other one is definitely going with the NGOs and government, but I do know this is not a permanent thing. So for commercializing or scaling up, we need other people. So we had a talk with our side, my team in Bangladesh, and we were thinking about having a supply chain on it. Like the producing, we can directly sell it to the market, like being the medium of it. Instead of just selling the product to the farmers, in future, what we can do, we can sell the products ourselves. We can own the whole ecosystem. So that was also in the plan. Another thing, definitely not in the pitch, but in terms of not in Bangladesh, scaling to, you were talking about Asia. Sorry, I remember now. Scaling to global or Asia, what we can do is, sorry, I just forgot.
I think one thing I might add to that, we had spoken about definitely renting it out to the farmers as well. I think you were touching on that. But my opinion was it'd be a logistical nightmare because we wanted to start off, kind of really tackle the real problem, maybe implement the digital layer then as well as a solution to that. But we're really focused on just getting this out there and actually making a difference. So thank you.
Yes, sorry, I remember now. So this product itself it can be used in different ways. So I was thinking, maybe in Europe, the market is small, but what about using it for gardening? I mean, the Baltic Sea, it's beautiful, so we can put some flowers in the inside of it, in the corner of it. So again, Also in Asia, in Singapore, they are actually doing a float farming in the ocean. And it's a huge infrastructure with solar powers and everything. So that is like, also in Asia, they are like finding ways to do the float farming, because even in Indonesia, they had a different side. The farmers itself are doing something related to that. But the problem is that for individual farmers, this is where we want to make the impact actually, because they are the ones suffering. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you so much.
You can sit down.
I'll get the boxes.
Oh, do you have it? Okay. Awesome. Give a round of applause to all of the 3 teams. It was a really great job. Yeah. Thank you so much to everyone, again, for listening, for joining, participating, and then also to the 3 teams for a really great pitch, and to the jury for those great questions. So now it's up to the jury to go up one more time to deliberate for the final team. And similar to usual, you can follow Apurva, who will take you upstairs. And I know that some folks have some flights and travels that they have to catch. Looking at this team specifically, has some time constraints. So this round should take only about maybe 10 minutes or so, and if that changes, we'll of course let you know. But we'll have about 10 minutes in between. But before that, Carla has a few other words to share.
Yes, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been here and made the INNOVA Europe Summit 2026 possible. A special, yeah, let's take it. A special thank you to the staff from all partner universities. And yeah, now let's say all today and today. To the volunteers who have supported this event, the photographers, moderators, hosts, everyone running things in the background. Mm-hmm. The competing teams for the great ideas and contributions to the competition. And of course, you, the audience, both here in person as well as online. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And of course, just one last thing, this wouldn't be an event. This would not be an event without also asking for feedback. So if you have a minute and some energy, and if you have anything on top of mind, we're open to any and all feedback on how this event went, if you have any suggestions for improvement, and just what's on top of mind.
We'll go off.
It's quite a large QR code, and yet we're still in the way somehow. But yes, so the jury will be back soon. You can grab some water, and the bathroom's around the corner, and we'll all convene again soon.
Don't worry, we won't pitch.
Maybe if we want to come a little bit further and a little bit up.
Perfect.
They told me I can instruct them, so.
Nice. Now we have the jury here, finally. And before we announce the third, first, and second prize, we'll go with the most innovative award. So those that were voted for by you in the audience. And the winner for the most innovative prize of INNOVA Europe Summit 2026 is, can I get? Whoa! London Business School Latent Loop. Welcome up on stage.
Thank you. You can feel free to
take
there.
Place for a
and
quick
then we'll
picture.
take a real quick picture.
Yes.
Feel free to hold it.
As
yeah.
you see, there's the yellow Alto brand color.
Do you want to take a picture with the jury in the background?
No, wait.
Can everyone get maybe a little closer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone together here. And one more. Thank you. So the yellow color symbolizes community, as you were chosen by the community here and are now a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So congratulations again. And now we will move into announcing the third, second, and first prize. However, before we do that, I do announce an exciting bonus that actually the winner of the first prize will receive passes to Slush in November 2026 in sun-shining Helsinki, the best time of the year ever, actually. So it's a really exciting event. Nora Saksa talks about it a little bit more. And if you don't know, it's just Google it. And I'm sure you already know. But so I'll stop talking. Now I'm going to actually hand it over to our jury member, Jana, here, to announce the third place winner.
Yeah, first of all, the jury would like to genuinely thank you all for keeping us awake and having such energetic and really, really high quality pitches. Wilson actually does this for a living, looking at the pitches and that, and this is coming from him. So really, really great quality in the pitching. And we can tell that you've been practicing this and putting a lot of effort into it. Trust me, I have done a lot of pitching in my life, and I know that it takes a lot of time and energy to prepare, and we really, really appreciate each minute that you put into this. Then one more thing is that even if you're not one of the winners, keep on building. There's a lot of great solutions. So this is, keep on building and working on it. The third place goes to a company for whom we would like to send the greetings of this is an execution game. Just do it. And the company is Reeboks.
Here you go. And feel free to stand. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congrats. Yep, you can stand. Yep, in the center. Anywhere, yeah. Yep. Congratulations.
Then to the next one, we really loved the drive of the pitchers and the impact created and the innovation here. And the company is Aronno.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, here, if you want to shake their hands, I can hold it for you. Thank you. There you go. No, you should stand there. Yeah, go ahead, hold the other side, yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And now a huge surprise element in the air. Congratulations, Latin Loop, a few words about the choice. So we like the fact that the market and the problem is super clear. It is there, it's existing, the impact is big, and the pitching was done very convincingly, great answers to all of our questions. Very well prepared.
So the winner is, I think you might have brushed over it.
No, I said, congratulations, Latin Loop.
Ah.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, we're squeezing again. Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to the winners, and thank you for everyone pitching today. Finally, want to thank the jury as well. Mm-hmm.
Paul. Yeah. Yes, and beautiful flowers right here for you all as well. We'll probably have to take more photos as well now with the flowers. So.
How do I do this? This way. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Thank you so much, all.
Yep. Yep. Yep, so thank you so much again for today. I know it's been a really long day, and I hope everyone's proud of the incredible work that they've done today. So the fun doesn't have to stop here. We're probably going to be taking way more photos throughout the evening, but we also have some drinks around the corner, celebratory drink, and an opportunity for everyone to get to know each other a little bit more, to network, and to hopefully wind down the evening in a little bit more of a relaxing way. And if you're traveling, safe travels to you all, and thank you so much for participating and for joining us here in Helsinki.
Thank you.
So, is that cue for a photo? I thought so, but